Hello, everyone, and welcome to John Carter of Mars. How's everyone doing? We are playing John Carter of Mars from Modiphius Entertainment, and we're still to be streaming at twitch.tv/DND and twitch.tv/Modiphius. So, what are we doing? We are playing an RPG based on the fantasy book series John Carter of Mars. So, we had this is the third episode of John Carter of Mars. We're playing an adventure called Phantoms of Mars. More on that shortly. And also, welcome back to some of our players who missed the last one due to the outbreak of coronavirus. But now we're all digital. Yes, it's fine. Now we're all digital. We can all play remotely. This will be an excellent chance to reintegrate and get back to the story after the last episode. And hopefully the two characters who were there, looking at you, Toby and Rebecca, can explain to them what happened. So that will be a nice way to lead into where we're at the moment. Anyway, this is an RPG, this is a role-playing game, so what you will see is players rolling dice. What they are trying to do is roll under a combined attribute score. They're rolling 2d20, and they're trying to get low numbers, not high numbers. So if you're a D&D player, the opposite of what you're used to. So look forward to that. Apart from that, there's different rules on momentum, luck. We'll explain those as we go along, so hopefully you can keep up, and if not, the books are available online and are a steal. Do grab them if you can. Anyway, it's an RPG. The players are playing characters in a shared fantasy universe, and I play every other person they encounter, every weather pattern they have to fly through in their lovely skyship, all the rest.
Do a cumulonimbus.
Do a cumulonimbus. I will try, Justin. I will try. For you, one cumulonimbus will arrive at some point today.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Spoil me with some stratus.
Oh, I'm writing that down too.
There's a lot of skyships in your dungeons, Chris. I've just realised that.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of skyships in my dungeons. That is very true. We are getting off script, everybody. Anyway,
there's a script.
There's a script.
Is that a skyship in your dungeon? No.
Anyway, with their dice rolls and me telling the story from the outside perspective and dice to keep things random and interesting, we will tell our tale. Before I dive into what's going on hugely at this point in the story, why don't we meet everyone? So can we go around? I'll say people's names because it's harder to go around a table when you're in Zoom. Can you please give your character's name, your character's pronouns, your name and your pronouns as well, and then give us a little bit about what recently happened to your character or where your character is at the beginning of this next chapter of the adventure, starting with Poe.
Hi, my name is Poe, and I use they/them pronouns, and I am playing Razh the Earthquake Riot, who uses he/him pronouns, who is a pro wrestler who has gone to help this expedition to go find these Martian archives, not for his public image, but to do good to the community. Who heard you say the other thing? The last adventure, Razh chose to stay and help fix the ship that he accidentally broke, partly because Poe was sick and couldn't make it to the session, and now is very excited to hear what happened.
Thank you, Poe. Rebecca, keep us going.
I am Rebecca. I use she/her pronouns. I am playing Dr. Cordelia Kant, but if you're very well behaved, you can call her Cord. She also uses she/her pronouns. She is a scientist and general expert on most things, really. And she's great. She, last game, made it to the secret archives that contain all knowledge ever, and then watched them all collapse. And she's totally, completely fine with that.
Good. I sense we'll be playing some trauma today. This is excellent. Good crack. Toby. Really?
Toby Osmond. He/him pronouns. I play.
Thanks, I hate it.
I play
Hollywood called and want Toby back.
Abraham Thiel goes by she/her pronouns. Originally, I've been thinking about that sunglasses gag for like 10 minutes. Abraham Thiel.
I'm not going to edit it out. I'm going to leave it there so that the world can see how much of an arse you are. That's exactly what that is.
You know what? I'm not feeling so well again, so I think
I'm just going to rage quit. That's it.
Hey, Poe.
This is the last we saw of Poe.
Abraham Thiel very much missed Razh last session because Abraham Thiel basically, I think originally originally there was the idea of one of the main villains of the session. It turns out it's Abraham Thiel's wife. And I think that was probably going to be the hook originally, but it turned out that she's just a massive wrestling fan and loves Razh. And yeah, last event got quite a mosh, which was fun because whilst Dr. Cord was losing her live stream, Abraham essentially offered to sacrifice herself. And then Dr. Cord used her large hands and human ancestry to carry Abraham and jump to safety. So that was an exciting end. And then I ended the session on coming back and saying, Razh, you wouldn't believe what happened. So we can do that.
We'll pick up right there. Yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll pick up right there. That's nice. Justin? Don't know why I said your name like that. I'm sorry.
I don't know. It seems appropriate. Hello, I'm Justin. I go by he/him pronouns, and I am playing Virt Vaskal, who also goes by he/him pronouns. Virt Vaskal is a captain of a cargo hauler, and was. Am I explaining all the character, just kind of little bits and pieces, or?
Oh, just a soupçon.
It's just a soupçon. Yeah, as a cargo captain, sort of fairly steely nerd, but really just a sort of working bloke who's trying to get by, and doesn't really buy into the whole honor culture of Mars, and really just wants to be left alone doing cargo hauling, and has got swept away in this adventure. Unfortunately, due to me coming down with the great ailment that's kind of spreading at the moment, I also missed last session.
Please tell me historically we won't be calling it the great ailment.
The great ailment.
I think we absolutely should. It's better than anything else I've heard.
The great plague of the great ailments.
This, however, is simply hay fever. So after crashing the sort of ship that was so heavily jury-rigged, it was sort of a ship of Theseus where he wasn't sure where the original ship began and the repairs ended. After Razh and Abraham sort of systematically destroyed it in extremely well-meaning but very misguided attempts to improve it, it crashed and burned, and poor brevet captain Vaskal was left behind fixing it alone. Well, not alone, with Razh.
Alone might have been preferable.
Your good, helpful buddy Razh.
Yeah.
Who could ask for better help than a gigantic green Martian with the intelligence of a pea? That's
with
fantastic.
4 hands.
Four
very helpful hands.
Huge,
very
ego.
small hands.
2 small, 2 big.
Oh yeah.
We decided.
Oh yeah. Virt, it's worth noting that Virt has fundamentally deeply average hands. In fact, they're the kind of hands where you'd look at them, and when you look away, you don't realise, you sort of forget them. They're very unmemorable on account of being so fundamentally average-sized.
Thank you. For viewers who may not know about the hands gag, do check previous episodes of this where we point out how the original John Carter books talk about how hands are often dainty and small and delicate, and we have gone the opposite direction. Hands are all big, chonky mitts or unremarkable, apparently. So that's the way this game works. Anyway,
much as in real life.
Much as in real life. As a person with gigantic hands, this is true. Anywho, some admin. This show will run for 3.5 hours-ish, depending a bit on how long they take to do things. And after we get to a certain point, we will have a pause for about 5-10 minutes in the middle. So do take a break at a certain point. And also, you'll be able to pause this. It'll be streamed, or there will be a video recording later. Feel free to pause if you need to, just to put that out into the world. We are sponsored. Hooray! We are sponsored by Ultra Pro, who make gaming accessoires, which you can get at their site, ultrapro.com, and that's for things like cards, Thieves, Magic the Gathering, dice bags for D&D. There's a lot of great things there. Do check them out. We also work with D&D Beyond, where you can do digital Dungeons & Dragons character sheets and get a compendium of all the game's rules online, which is especially useful during lockdown, obviously. And at the moment, there's a lot of free adventures poking around their website because they're releasing quite a few things for free during all of this, so people have the ability to stay at home and play at home, which is something we quite strongly believe in, and that's from Wizards of the Coast, who are also people we work with quite a lot. but not on this game. This game is a different person entirely. Finally, we play with a diverse group of players who play a diverse set of characters with wide-ranging sexual and gender identities. Our tables are trans-positive, and we encourage and champion trans players in our games. The DM and players may portray characters that are of a different gender to their own, and while we aim to avoid misgendering, we do acknowledge that it does sometimes happen and have a policy for correction, which you'll probably see live during the game. And if you think we've missed anything, do drop us a message, let us know, pop into the chat, like everything's fine, really. We do like to make sure we're doing things correctly. With that in mind, without further ado, let us begin. So, surface of Mars, or Barsoom, as it is known by the local inhabitants. Well, there's been quite a lot going on. You know, Toby, it'd be funnier if you did that when you weren't muted.
I didn't actually say it. I know I was muted, but I didn't say Barsoom because I didn't want to interrupt you, Chris. Carry on.
Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you. Oh, I appreciate that. That's great. Yeah. So these 4 rapscallions were all brought in part of the initial adventure, which was to go to the ancient city of Corvus, a lost city on the surface of Barsoom. And between the 4 of them and Dr. Nalantir and his 2 children, they were going to try. Just because Dr. Nalantir's children has come up before, they're not like kids. They are in their 20s. They're just, like it's not like they're not like some kids were coming along to help out with an adventure. They're young adults. They're useful and helpful. Not really, but
Well,
yeah. So this largish group went off to try and find the lost city of Corvus and find the ancient archives beneath them, where Dr. Tyr was looking for some life-saving medical research, specifically about brain patterns that would help people with ailments of the mind. However, trying to find that information as well was a strange terrorist organization called the Eidolon, who tried to stop our party at various instances, including managing to subvert one of Dr. Tyr's children onto their side and trying to stop them when they reached the lost city of Corvus and sending a bunch of wild white apes, gigantic 4-armed and 2-legged apes that are bigger than a small house, and broke the floor. And there was all sorts of lovely adventures there. Do check out chapters 1 and 2 on our YouTube channel where everything is explained. Anyway, they found the archive, they found the information they were looking for, and thanks to seeing some of the strange control discs wired into the back of some of the animals, the native Barsoomian animals that the Eidolon were working with, realized that the Eidolon were using the same technology to control people's minds. Thanks, Justin. That's very that's the kind of reaction I wanted, and I'm glad I got it from 1 out of 4 of you. Regardless,
it's really right there.
That wasn't in the script.
Yeah.
I know. I'm sorry.
I memorized all those pages, and you're going off.
I can't help it. It's just my nature. I have to improvise. I can't not. Anyway, the party with 2 new helpers who have since made their way back to Helium on their own accord have returned back to Virt's ship, where Virt and Razh, because both were ill last time, have been fixing Virt's ship. Virt, your ship had a lovely name, didn't it? What was your ship's name?
Whale. There was a whale.
It may have been written on the back of my.
Justin, currently you look like the part of your head vanished. It's fine. And then Poe vanished entirely and reappeared. It's all good.
It might be on the back of my character sheet, but I feel that because that is physically with you.
That's all right. I can find it then.
It might be on the back. I don't know. I tend to sort of make notes slightly at random.
I'm going to try and find your character sheet to see if we can find out what your ship is called. Is your ship called Coffee Stain?
No.
Is your ship called... No.
Living on a boat, I could offer several comedic suggestions.
I feel it was Sky Whale, because you managed to pick
it was
one
the Sky
animal
Whale.
Doesn't exist on Mars.
That's right.
No
It
water.
was. It was. I was like, this sounds suitably Barsoomian, and it turns out it is not Barsoomian.
There are no seas.
Yeah, it was called the Sky Whale.
The Sky Whale. Excellent. So, Abraham, Dr. Cordelia Kant, you are returning to the Sky Whale, and your new companions, who will stay mute throughout this scene, because don't make me do it, are going to come back to the ship along with Dr. Tyr and his children, and you've got what he came for. You found the information that you need. Cordelia, you have not found the information that you need. You have to memorize it, which is not quite the same. And between the two of you returning and Virt and Razh fixing up the Sky Whale, let's start our adventure there. Abraham, I believe you were literally running in and trying to tell Razh all about what happened and getting super excited about it. Is that where we'd like to begin?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Find that character. Do it.
Razh, you'll never believe what happened. There were these mind-controlled bants, and they almost took me down. But then I was actually inspired by that match you had, where you had 3 wrestlers on you, and then you stood out and threw them off. It was pretty cool.
God, that was very inspiring of me. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah. And then then we dispatched them, and then we snuck into this place, and then there was a giant white ape. Walked through the floor, and that sort of distracted everyone else. And then we found this Dr. Cordelia. I'm no expert in this stuff, but there was a thing, and then we all had to flee before we could get some stuff.
I'm no expert in this stuff, but there was a thing, and then there was a thing kind of captures it, I think, yeah.
That's with my flow. I think we got the stuff we needed, did we? Honestly, I was only here for Razh, and no, you were looking after the ship. How's the ship, by the way?
I think it's fair to say that there's going to be a loud clonk and a series of sort of cascading breaking noises inside. To answer that question.
Razh hears that and gives 4 big thumbs up.
Shouldn't that be 2 big thumbs up and 2 small thumbs up?
Sorry, 2 big thumbs up, 2 small thumbs up.
Dr. Kant, what are you up to? Dr. Tyr and his kids are excited about the results, but also slightly, much like yourself, there's a slight melancholy air to all 3 of them. You do get a sense that a huge amount of knowledge was lost in the destruction of the Corvin archive.
It's so fine.
Are you all going to be melancholy together, or is anyone going to say anything?
Well, Dr. Kant and I were going to go over what we remembered, but I don't know if we've done that in downtime on the way back.
Do it on the flight back. It's fine. Do it on the flight back.
I feel like when we were sheltering in the handy, convenient secret tunnels at the end of last time, we had scribbled down everything we could remember in a notebook very quickly. We'll do
a cover of all of that in a second once you're on the ship to have a look at it. That's fine.
So Cord had her 5 minutes of absolute weeping, and she has since very pragmatically pulled herself together, got up, organised the doctor and the children back to the ship, and just go, well, we got what we came for, which is the main thing.
Tira, who has taken something of a shine to you, is sort of walking with you and being quite conciliatory and quite friendly, and just sort of being, are you okay? Is everything all right?
Don't be nice to me, I'll cry. Everything's fine.
Okay. Why don't we get on board ship and see how Virt's doing with getting us back to Helium?
I think that's a great idea. And then we and your father should go over what we've got, because there are some concerning things.
Well, we'll have to go through that, because I'm not 100% sure on what Daddy's discovered here, but I hope it's useful. I think that's we got what we came for, and in the end, that's the battle, and we won it.
Yes, we did.
All right. Everyone's heading inside the ship. Virt, what's the inside of the Sky Whale? The Sky Whale, of course, has a very large berth in the bottom, and then it has a single deck on the top.
Ready to berth. So I think, as I'm envisaging it, the result of the crash was that the base structure of the ship has not been particularly badly damaged. Just the sheer impact of crashing into the ground has sort of shaken loose about 70% of the accumulated repairs that have been done over the previous few years. So what you've got is the outline of the ship looks normal, but there's just stuff everywhere and holes in the wall. But it's not like it kind of hit something and ripped a hole out. It was just it went clonk and then something came flying out the wall. And so what you've got is the ship is sort of starting, I don't know, I may need to roll for this, but I think that the ship is becoming functional again.
Why don't you roll
there
me
are just
for
sort of
the fixing of the ship? And
Yes,
I think Raz could have been helping you fix the ship if you wanted to both be rolling together.
yeah, I'd be happy with that. I get 4d20.
Cool. So you roll your 4d20. Raz, you can roll 1d20 on top of this.
Because I rolled
Okay.
2d20 and then my talent allows another 2.
I think so. Sounds about right.
And what am I going to be rolling for this?
I think. What attributes do you think you'd be using to fix your ship?
I'm going to have a look at this very, very grainy character sheet. And I'm going to say one of them will certainly be reason.
Yes.
Now, and it's definitely not because this is my highest stat. I feel like daring. The case for daring being, hey, hear me out. Right. So normally, Virt would rather be systematic about these repairs and kind of put everything in place and would do everything properly from the ground up. Sure. However, Virt is aware that there are the baddies kicking about and probably heard some vague sort of distant kaboom noises from the white apes and what have you.
Sure,
and so the reason daring comes into it is Virt is trying to do his utmost to fix the ship as rapidly as possible and is basically jury rigging it to basically be a flying engine. So all of the other stuff, like there's little in the way of steering, the safety things are non-existent, the fuel lines are buggered, but it should be able to fly. It's just going to be a highly risky operation.
So is this like the very end of Hell's Moving Castle, where all that's left of the castle is like a board and 2
Oh my
legs?
god, yes, it's literally that, and it's oh my god, yes. I finally watched that film for the first time about 2 weeks ago, and I loved it to pieces. Yes, it's that.
It's one of my favorite
Yes.
ever films.
Totally, yes, that. Including the image of when the castle collapses and everything just falls off. That's a lot of what's happened to this ship. In fact, I get the idea that what's happened now is that having crashed the ship, a lot of the external repairs have fallen off, and I'm like, oh, this ship used to be like quite nice and sleek. What happened? Like maybe
I don't
this
think
used...
anyone ever thought that. For...
Well, maybe it was like the sky dolphin once, and now it's the sky like humpback whale.
Okay, can you roll me 4d20 using your daring and reason? I'm fine with that. And Raz, can you roll me 1? What
Am I
are you
rolling
doing
for
to
a
help?
skill or just rolling?
You're rolling with 2 of your attributes as well. What attributes are you using to help Virt fix the ship?
Oh dear. I think passion, just because what Raz lacks in skill, he makes up for in enthusiasm. And then, could I argue might, because I'm just using brute strength?
Passion and might. You are just punching it back into life. I mean, you know what?
I punched it out of place, I can punch it back in.
I'm going to say because Virt's using daring and reason, it's very daring to punch a ship back into might, and your reason totally outweighs Raz's lack thereof. So sure, I think together it's, I'm just going to fix this, fix that, make that work. You're sitting there going, does that dent need fixing? Pa-pam! And that's how we're...
But also, like with passion and might, it's the kind of thing where if something heavy needs moving, and it's like, oh no, how am I going to move that spy? Like, never fear.
I'm going to allow it, yeah, totally. Yeah. So roll me your 4d20 and roll me your 1d20. And let's see
just one?
You roll 1 and Virt rolls 4.
So I have
is a specialist engineer.
Excuse me. So I have I needed to, so is it 16 or less? Because that is my daring plus reason.
Yes, you need to roll that or below.
I have a 17, a 14, a 7, and a 1.
Okay, so
my reason is
your
7.
Okay, so you have rolled 1 success and 2 big successes, which means you've rolled 5 successes. Raz, what have you rolled?
I rolled a 3.
Which is that below your passion or might?
That's a success.
Is your passion? What's your lowest out of passion and might?
My lowest is passion, which is 7.
You roll under that as well. In other words, you have rolled 7 successes.
This ship has never looked better.
Wow. Okay, so Raz, you get 2, and Virt, you get 2. You both now have 2 extra momentum, which you can use for rolls later. So add that to your momentum pool.
I do Howl's Ritual, and I grow another bathroom into the skyway.
By sheer mighty passion.
You both have been working the absolute shit out of the sky whale, and at this point, it as you described it, Virt, it doesn't, all of the sort of like flim-flammery, all of the how can I make this like a nice cargo ship that can carry lots of nonsense and be really good at X and really good at Y. Most of that is gone. What you now have is basically the hull of a ship held in one place, the steering fins smacked on, and a gigantic engine at the back just ready to go. You're ready to travel as far as you need to, but it won't be able to do anything clever or inventive. It's literally just I made it do a thing, and that thing is fly.
Great, excellent.
As you step inside the ship, you realize that a lot of the stuff inside is gone, and actually a lot of it's just lying on the floor, but the ship, if anything, is almost floating slightly off the ground, just humming with this like barely contained energy.
Great. I think that would look around and sort of go up, and we're going to go up to Razh and just sort of, I mean, because Razh, you're like 10 foot tall.
No, Razh is quite short for a green Martian.
For a green Martian,
that is quite short for a green
superhuman
Martian.
short. Oh, how tall are you again?
I'm 1.5 ads. 15 foot tall.
Right, so Abraham's 15 foot tall, therefore Razh is probably about 10 foot tall. So yeah, Virt, you're probably about 6. So
we'll probably go up and sort of pat an elbow, and would sort of just kind of look and sort of wordlessly just sort of like a pleasant kind of like moment.
Sorry,
Razh
go for it.
restrains himself from scooping you up into a big hug and just kind of nods like a cool and casual person would.
Mm-hmm. As everyone walks on board the ship, Troll looks around and goes, what did you do?
Modifications.
There's nothing in here. It's just an empty, I mean, it's full of junk.
Well, I mean,
you're welcome.
Will it get us away from the Eidolon quickly?
Yes.
Then you've done a brilliant job. Well done.
Thank you. And also, it's not necessarily junk. It's more like stuff that could necessarily be useful later. So, I mean, really, it's only junk if you don't know what it is.
Tira says, that's very interesting. We left the Eidolon in a collapsing temple, and we don't know when they're going to be coming, or whether we've got something that they need. So it might be best if we got out of here sooner rather than later.
All right, well, everyone aboard?
Everyone's on board. They're all in the hull with you.
Yeah.
May I go to the top deck where I may keep a lookout?
Sure. As you get to the top deck, behind you, the city of Corvus, you can see there's a lot of dust and smoke clouds where things have clearly gone, and you can still hear the distant sound of gunfire and the roar of giant white apes. Running across the sands towards the ship, you can see on the back of 3 banths, 3 green Martians are riding hard, trying to catch up to the ship and you. They're still quite a way off, but they are coming, and they're coming fast.
So, are them lot friends of yous, or are they enemies?
Let's go.
All right, hold on to something. I feel like this is going to have better acceleration than it did before.
That's not hard. Great.
Justin?
Yes?
What does Virt want the Sky Whale to do?
Virt would like the Sky Whale to initiate takeoff sequence. And would like to take off and basically it's doing a sort of quick takeoff and go as quickly as possible in a straight line back to Helium.
I'm holding on.
Not really much in the way of fancy maneuvers, just terms of the biggest, most aggressive, quickest acceleration it is able to do.
Cool. Now, you fly the ship from the top deck, yes?
Yeah.
Do you strap yourself in any way?
I feel like it would be kind of standard practice. That there's probably like a kind of like a belt hook underneath the sort of the steering apparatus, and that sort of attaches on. So I'm sort of held on by a strap, and it's sort of like surfing.
Grand. Abraham, Abraham, you're on the top deck. Do you hold on to something?
Well, I'm certainly holding on, but I doubt there's any straps. So I don't know if there's a mast or something, or if it's just the side railing. But I'm holding on to something.
We'll find a cinematic way of describing you nearly falling off. It's fine. Cordelia, Razh, you're below deck with Dr. Tyr and his children. Is there anything you're doing to brace yourself as the ship suddenly just powers up incredibly quickly? you doing anything to brace yourselves?
I think bracing is exactly what Cord is doing. I think she'll find something on the wall to grab onto and then try and plant nice and firmly.
Okay.
Raz will do the same, and it's just us and
Dr. Tyr, Nalan Tyr, and Tira and Nalan Tyr, and Tira and Tyrol, his children.
Yeah,
Twins.
he'd like to make sure that they're all secured. Maybe actually grab hold of Tyrol.
Oh,
Yeah.
Raz is too pure.
So Raz has grabbed hold of Tyrol to
Keeps
secure
putting
him,
hope
while
into
the
this
old
useless
man
boy.
and the young woman are just what do we do? What's going on here?
What it's worth, Cord, is if they aren't smart enough to do it themselves, Cord is going to go, hold up, no, hold that, no, that's not attached to anything. Come on. She will make sure they are.
Great.
I think you'll
Okay,
find
that's
it'll be a
it.
rougher ride than it was on the way here.
Vert, can you roll me a flying the ship check?
Right.
I will allow
gonna be-
daring. That makes sense. But what would you like to have with daring?
I feel like this is going to be daring and passion. Vert is not amongst the most passionate people, but if there is something that gets his blood racing and his enthusiasm going, it's flight. It's running his ship. And thinking back to the earlier days of having this ship, when it might have been faster, a little bit more agile, and indeed he might have done some slightly higher risk cargo hauling, perhaps including some kind of takeoffs out of dangerous areas. I feel like this is kind of firing up a kind of enthusiasm for the adventuring life that he hasn't felt in a long time.
Excellent. I like that very much. Roll me 2d20.
I'm going to bung in a momentum.
3d20.
And also, I am an airship pilot, so I get plus 1
Congratulations.
d20. So I have
4d20.
4d20.
Do it.
Do it! So I'm doing passion and daring, which is going to be a 14, and the lowest is passion. Oh, that one's cocked. I'm going to re-roll that one. Oh no!
Now it's a 20.
20 is a bad turn.
Well, I did get a 20, which is not the good thing. And daring and passion. So I needed to beat a 14.
Yes.
Does a 14 beat a 14, or is a 14 a fail? So I have 3 successes, no critical successes, merely 3 ordinary successes.
3 ordinary successes
9,
and
a 13, and a 14, and 1 crit 20.
And 1 complication.
1 crit fail. Oh
Which is a
no!
complication. Cool. So we have 1 complication already.
Abraham gets sucked into the engine.
Cool. So 3, I will allow 3. 3 is more than enough to do what you need to do. It's not more than enough. It's exactly what I was expecting. So the ship suddenly almost kicks off like a bucking mule, just like kicks off the ground with a sort of cloud of dust. And as it does, everyone in the ship feels suddenly weightless as you're suddenly thrust into the air. And then everything around you starts inside the hull. Things are just flying around you, shrapnel bouncing around all over the place. Abraham on the top deck, as the ship flies up, you suddenly feel yourself almost lifting off it. And as you try and grab hold of something, roll me something to grab hold of something.
Cool. Probably might. And
Panic.
yeah, would that be empathy, panic,
No.
passion?
You are welcome to argue whatever you want. The point of this is you tell me what stats you want to use, and I use that to influence the roleplay.
Well, definitely might, because I'm using my guns to
Is that your guns or your arms?
my arm guns, yeah. And
Man, I
maybe
love Samurai
daring,
Jack.
maybe daring, because I'm sort of probably falling over the side,
Sure, if you like. Yeah, I'll happily have daring and might. That's fine.
which is not great. So that's 13. I've got to beat the lowest.
Okay,
is
roll me 2d20.
5. That's a 16.
Nope.
Oh, and a 1.
Oh, very nice. Okay. As the ship
Yes.
bucks up and you're thrown up, one of your 4 arms grabs hold of something. You're not sure what you've grabbed hold of, but as you grab hold of it, the ship just rockets in a straight line. As it rockets in a straight line, because of the complication, there is a horrible noise from underneath, and the whole thing starts to pitch rather uncontrollably, just flying off at a bizarre side angle, going way too fast, and a steering thing gone entirely, rocketing off into the middle distance. Vert, your belt is hooked to the wheel, and you're sort of probably hanging on with a kind of as you go shooting off at mad speed, a rocket hanging out of the way. And as you do, you realize that Abraham above you has grabbed hold of a part of the ring and is just Wilhelming above you, desperately hanging on for dear life as the ship goes flying off into the middle distance. However, in the hold, Cordelia, Razh, can you roll me, and it's up to you again what you roll, I'm very happy for this to be something you choose, how you deal with the ordeal of shrapnel and detritus flying wildly around the hull of the ship, one piece of which flew back into the engine and has definitely caused some damage.
Okay.
Also, please note you have 3 characters in the hold with you. It is up to you if you want to make that part of your rolls.
Would you like to go first?
Rebecca.
Or should I?
Sure. I would like to, and not just because they're my highest, but because I genuinely think this is the right thing to do. I would like to use empathy and reason to try and scout out like the safest bit to go, the trajectory of where things are flying in, ducking at the right times, and empathy because she is taking the 3 NPCs and trying to sort of shield them, saying, no, not that, come this way, hold on.
Okay, so you are trying to be wise and smart about where things are flying, which is a very wise thing to do. Probably moving away from the engine, also a wise thing to do. And also chivying everyone and being very careful with your charges. Razh, what are you going to do while you see Cordelia being very sort of careful and smart and empathetic towards everyone in the...
I'm glad you asked.
Oh, no.
Well, no. I'd also like to help out, so I would like to use empathy for one, and I reckon if I can, I'm quite big, I'm quite strong. I reckon if I can kind of stay steady enough to kind of keep myself around them to kind of protect them from anything that could be flying out. So I'd like to use empathy and might.
You're going to physically shield them. Great, yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Human shielding. I'm Martian shielding.
You're Martian
shielding.
Yeah.
Razh, stop being so good. You're going to be the character that gets killed just before the climax so that we all know that there are emotional stakes.
I just want people to see him doing good.
There are no cameras here.
Yeah.
Okay, that is 2d20. It's 2d20 for each of you. You can use momentum to add more dice. That's totally fine. Or if you have talents that let you do stuff like this, you can add those too. I don't think either of you do.
I don't think leaps and bounds does anything, does it?
No, not in this situation. You're not jumping anywhere. No.
Just trying to remember what all my abilities do. No, that's for passion. All right, I think I'm good.
Great, go for it. Give me some rolls.
What is my empathy? Oh,
Go for it, Rebecca. Cordelia?
I had a 2 and a 7, which I believe is 3 successes.
3 successes, excellent. Razh?
I have a 20.
Oh no!
Oh no!
And then I have an 8.
Is that a single success?
That is a single success, yes.
Cool. You are going to fail in what you do, and you have a complication unless you use momentum to try and make the situation better. Or you could use luck.
Oh. Sorry, remind me how much empathy I have again. I mean, not empathy, momentum.
You have 3 momentum. Actually, you gained 2 extra earlier, so you have 5 momentum at the moment.
All right. I would like to use 1 momentum.
Sure, you now have 4 momentum, and roll an extra dice.
Okay. No. Well, no, that's okay. So that's 1 double success.
So you now have 3
and then another
total.
Single success.
Yay!
So you have 3 total. So 3 is what you needed. So between the 2 of you, you have managed to shield the 3 of them. None of them die.
Yeah.
None of them get hurt anyway. You managed to shield the 3 of them as the cargo. The bay of this ship is just it's a whirlwind of bits of metal. Like Cordelia, as you lean down to one side, you see a jar of nails just sat idly on a shelf, and you with reason just go, I'm going to duck down as The nails just go flying like a miniature nail bomb exploding above your head as you very smartly and successfully dodge everyone out of the way.
Flashback to like Virt and I fixing the ship. Like, we'll put this up here and it'll be fine.
And now
I like the idea. I mean, I don't want to sort of dunk on Raz, but I like the idea of Virt like handing it back, but put that somewhere safe. And Raz is like on top of the shelf.
That is a safe
no one
place.
can reach it up here.
It's higher. It's too high that Tyrol won't be able to reach it. You know.
Yes.
Yeah, Raz probably had such faith in your ability to make the ship not do this that would be a perfectly.
I think that's perfectly fair. Yes, I think it's Raz's faith in Virt that has made this a problem.
It's always when people have faith in me that things go wrong.
Justin.
Raz, as things smash apart all around you, and you realise that was a bad place to put the nails, you hunker down and duck, covering all of the 3 red Martians, just trying to make sure they are safe. As you do, you see, Cody, you can see this as well, bits of metal flying around the base here, and a piece, as described, flies into the engine block. And as it flies into the engine block, there is quite a loud twisting, grinding sound as this metal piece of shrapnel is just torn through the back of this, and as it tears through the back of it, that Virt is the momentum going, and that's the steering going, and you're realizing that this ship is now going very, very fast, and you don't know if you're going to be able to slow it down easily, and also the steering's buggered. At the same time, Raz, this explosion, as there's an explosion, some of the metal covers your back in small amounts of scarring. What did you roll? Might and what was the other one? Empathy. Might and passion. It was might and empathy, was it? Yes.
Me?
Yeah. Was it might and empathy?
Might and empathy.
Okay, then we'll go for an injury on this one. So on your injury stress tracker, please track 1, 2, 3. 5 damage in one go, which means you get an affliction, an injury affliction, which is a wound.
Delightful.
So as there is a massive explosion behind you, feel there's a burning, searing feeling on your back. And Cord, you can see the back of Raz's ripped tunic, muscly, like wrestling tunic thingy. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Full leotard.
Full leotard. The back of Raz's leotard has a massive singed burn at the back, and Raz has definitely sustained a wound at the back from this explosion in the engine block. Abraham, as you are flying off the rigging on top of the ship, you can catch glimpses behind you, and you can see that these 3 banths are tearing after the ship, but they are far too slow to be useful. One of the green Martians on the back, who you don't recognize at this distance, raises a rifle and fires at the ship as it's going, but the shot, you hear the bang, but you don't feel the bullet go anywhere near. The ship's going too fast and is too wild, too rampant at this point to really be any threat from there.
I feel like it's the least of our worries.
Sure. I mean,
you didn't get shot last time. Those bullets are.
Justin rolled high enough, so I'm going to say that they don't manage to shoot you. Good. The ship is rocketing away at a crazy speed, at a crazy angle, rocketing away from where you're even trying to be going. Like, you're not even going to get towards helium at this point. It's just flying off into the Barsoomian sun. It's not an airship. It's an airship, not a spaceship. It's not going to fly out of the atmosphere. It's just rocketing away at high altitude. Yes, Cordelia.
Can Cord, knowing that she's helped Virt fix the engine before, and knowing that she's quite good with how science, how things work, can she look at the big hole and see if there's anything she can do to attempt to fix it?
Use a reason and interesting. Probably cunning. Probably it's smarts, isn't it?
I can do reason and cunning. Can I also use my wealth of knowledge talent for if I fail a dice to re-roll because it's a science-related reason test?
Yes, you can. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
You big nerd.
Hello. That's exciting. That is 3 successes.
Splendid. You, looking back at the engine block, the engine is a sort of whirring fan that somehow makes things fly. Don't ask me. But it's... It's a very quick fan blade, and you can see that one of the fan tines has been snapped off, and now that's causing drag to the right for reasons that I don't fully understand either. So there's a problem with it that you'd have to like turn the engine off to fix. In the meantime, the ship is rocketing away at a random angle. Razh is very badly hurt. Virt, you're flying. What do you do?
Right, so realizing that we are listing heavily to the right and we are going way too fast and the steering is gone, Virt will probably mutter some sort of red Martian curse under his breath.
Now, just a point of order here because of how aeroplanes work. It's not that the ship is veering to the right by just sort of it's yawing.
Starboard.
It's pitching, and it's
pitching, and as it's pitching, it's curving. Yeah.
So I too have played many flight simulators in my time.
No, my dad's a pilot. Go on.
Oh really? Goodness sake.
A pilot. Sorry.
And I think that is going to kind of, as far as he's able with the air rushing into his face, is going to kind of hiss out some sort of red Martian swear, and is then going to.
Can you translate the red Martian swear for us? Because I think this is the kind of point where a subtitle would pop up.
Probably something like "fucking bastard piece of shit."
Oh, I thought there was something more inventive than that. What a shame.
Oh, sorry. I know. Fucking bastard piece of shit. Throat. There we go. A riding beast common to Barsoom.
Well, there we go.
There we go. And then is going to grabbing hold of one of the railings. Is going to unclip himself from the safety harness.
Are you?
Yeah, I mean, come on, it is pulp adventure. Is going to unclip himself from the safety harness, and then is going to clip the safety harness onto the steering apparatus, locking it in place, and is then going to move to if we're veering this way,
to the right.
He's going to go to the left, and is going to. Do I have any idea which of the steering do I have any idea what's wrong?
You heard a grinding, crashing noise in the bowels of the ship. I think it's fair to say that you would have worked out that this isn't a problem with the steering fins, which you already kind of discarded as I don't need these. The problem is the engine itself is there's only air coming out of one bit of it. Right, cool. So in that case, so originally what I was going to do is going to go over to one of the side of the steering fins and try to manually correct them. You could like push a steering fin so that effectively the steering fin is working against the engine. Exactly. I think that's what he's going to do. Roll me to not fall and die. Yeah. Because you just unclipped yourself from a ship that is not just veering, but also, as described, yawing. So you're climbing up the side of you're climbing up an inclined plane. Abraham could do it. I'm definitely going to use. Abraham's hanging off the rigging.
Abraham has 4 arms.
daring, and cunning.
That sounds about right.
And now this is to do with flying or captaining the ship.
Yes, it is.
So that's going to be 3, and I'm going to use 2 momentum points.
If you're using 2, that gives you 1.5 extra dice. That does nothing.
Well, I'll use 3 then.
You are rolling 5 dice.
I don't want to
also,
die
a point
instantly.
of order, I think you can actually add the momentum after you see how your roll goes.
Okay. So in that case, I'm not going to add the momentum yet. So I'm going to have 3 to begin with and see how it goes.
Cool. It's quite difficult.
Boy, howdy, am I adding momentum. So I'm going to use...
Now you also have luck. There's 2 guaranteed successes and you won't fall off the ship and die.
You have 4 per game. This might be a good opportunity.
Yeah, I think I'm going to burn a luck point.
Okay.
In fact, I know I'm going to burn a luck point.
Spend it. Burn that luck point. So guaranteed 2 successes. And how many did you roll?
So I have rolled 1 success. I have 2 successes. I am going to use those momentum points to give me another 2 dice rolls.
You rolled 3 dice. You bought one extra one with thing already, so you can only buy one extra dice.
Okay, then. So I will spend one momentum point to buy one extra dice and hopefully not die instantly. And it's a 3, which is below. So that's another critical success. That's 2 successes, I think.
Okay, so you get 5 successes. So you can have one momentum back.
Yay!
You only need 4 to not die. Now, you said daring and cunning, so I'm going to describe it based on that. As the ship starts to you unclip yourself, which is daring, and as you realise that the ship's deck is slowly turning and you're climbing up the side of the ship, you do a sort of run-up jump and grab hold of the sidebar as you slowly start to realise that you are swinging off, as the ship is now almost at about... nearly at a 45 to 90 degree angle, and you are now hanging just off the sidebar as the ship just is flying off at a random angle. However, because you rolled that many successes, you are hanging directly under the steering fin, which will allow the ship to... It will basically flap out and create a drag, and thus allow the ship to right itself. As you are hanging like this, what do you want to do to make it work?
So, screw it. It's a pulp adventure. I'm going to shoot it.
It's a pulp adventure. Screw it. I'm going to shoot it.
So,
I'm going to gun it. I'm going to use my gun.
I am a deadly pistolier. So the idea being to do the really cool, badass thing of aiming right at the tip. Yeah. And hoping to hit the tip so that it kind of it's just the tip, and it'll hit it, and it will do enough energy and with enough leverage. And these things are pretty tough. They're especially toughened steering fins, I'll have you know, intended to kind of hit it and use that kind of going and kind of knock it out so that it starts to move.
Okay, for cinematic effect, as you're hanging with 2 hands, you let go with one hand to pull the pistol and reach up to shoot. As you're doing that, inside the hull, you are all just hanging on for dear life. The entire hull is turning. Shrapnel's now it's not flying around in the same mad way. Sort of it's like a sea of shrapnel. You're sort of falling through it. Raz, you're still holding on to everyone using your very strong...
My many arms. And
your
my
many
big
strong
body.
arms and your big body to hold on to everyone and make sure they're all safe. Cordelia, you've been looking back at the engine and realised there's a problem. Are you going to try and do anything to fix the problem? Now, as I described it, it would be almost impossible to do it with the engine on.
So I think once we've stopped being almost vertical, I will sprint up and tell Virt. But in the meantime,
you can sprint along because it's almost sideways.
Sprint along to the top deck. Yeah. I reckon Cord has worked out that at this moment, going out onto the open bit where you can fall off is not going to help anybody.
No, that's
right
the thing
now,
crazy people do.
This isn't like D&D where only particular classes can heal, isn't it? We all can if we roll.
You can all heal, that's right.
So, with Raz and Poe's consent, Cord would like to essentially piggyback on the back of Raz so she could hold on with her mighty fuse whilst leaving her hands free to kind of try and disinfect and cut away burnt cloth and clean up Raz's back a bit. But she will ask for consent before leaping on Raz's back.
You have to describe how this happens.
Just to climb
Is this okay?
Yes. I need to fix you, but I need my size to get involved. Do you mind?
Okay. I figure he's got 4 arms. There's 4 of you. He kind of uncurls one of them so you can get out. And please be careful. There's loose nails in there and things.
Oh, never mind. You worry about you.
Right, can I have an empathy and reason roll from you, Cord? Because that's what you roll to heal people.
Yeah.
I was checking the rules on healing.
That is 2 successes. I like Raz a lot, so I'm going to spend a momentum and roll again. Don't look at me like that.
Hang on, I'm trying to work out how many you need, because 2 might be enough. Hang on.
Well, just for that, Raz is going to forgive you for... in the future where you cut open his favourite costume.
It was pretty totally exploded.
Yeah, to help an ally recovering from an affliction must attempt a challenging D2 attribute test using the relevant attributes of the afflictions. We've done that. So 2 is enough. You don't need to roll more than that.
Momentum.
So you quickly start swabbing, and Raz, you no longer have the wound. So your stress tracker stays at 5 for injury, but you no longer have the wound. So that will heal at the end of the scene anyway, because that's how stress trackers work, but you don't have any of the long-term afflictions.
Thank you.
Great. Cordelia is fixing Raz while the ship crashes. That's wise. Good. The top hatch is still closed, so there's no way you're going to fall out of the ship yet. That's good. Right. Abraham, as Virt does a one-handed grab pistol pull, which is still a boss move. Abraham, what are you doing? You are currently flying on the end of it's basically rope. You're flying on the end of rope. You're on the rigging, just sort of being dragged behind this ship. You're over the deck. But if you let go, you would fall to the ground because the ship's going so fast. What do you want to do to either get out of this situation, help this situation? What do you want to do?
I think Abraham has been in similar situations before.
Oh, good.
And it was more like, it wasn't the initial like, what? And sort of like finding herself like flying. It was when she started to hear like clunks and grinds and explosions from the engine, and then realized that we're just definitely about to start flying in really big circles. That's when she started to actually get a bit worried.
Just point of order, that's not how airplanes work. If the airplane yaws to a certain angle and then overturns, it will eventually start curving downwards.
Yeah, well, yeah. The start of a circle until we hit the ground. So that more worrying, in fact, than just a big circle.
It's not like if an airplane loses a rudder, it just goes whee and flies in circles for hours on end. That's not how that works.
There might have even been a point
on Mars.
Yeah, maybe.
Assume.
There might have even been a point where she's like, "Hang on, that's not how airships work." Oh no. But then she's basically like sort of looking between Virt and the chasing green Martians on the bands.
Sure.
And every time she looks at Virt, she's sort of trying to kind of wait for his attention so she can say like, Virt! What the fuck? But he's always doing something, and then it gets to the point where he pulls out his gun and she's like, I just don't know. I don't know. So she's just going to hold on as tightly as she can. She's got 4 arms, so she's going to try and sort of maybe slowly pull along the rope until she gets to the mast or the solid bit that she can get a better grip on.
Okay, I tell you what, can you roll me for getting yourself into a slightly safer hanging on position? I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I can try.
Thank you.
That's an 11. Oh, what stats am I using?
I don't know. You're supposed to tell me what stats you use before you roll.
Might because of my guns.
Yes.
And probably again daring. Or
Might and daring. Might and daring's fine.
Yeah, I think daring because I'm flying unintentionally.
Might
so an
and
11
daring
is 1 success. It's another 1.
Hey.
Oh, you can't see it.
No.
Oh,
also,
anyway,
we can't. You could pick it up and say, "Look at the 1." I mean.
Oh yeah, I could, but then I'd have to find it. That's 3 successes.
3 successes. Lovely. You climb your way up the rigging and are securing yourself probably by using the rope as. I don't know if anyone's ever done this before, but if you're hanging off a rope,
all the time.
You can. Sure. It might just be me.
Have.
Yeah, exactly. If you're holding onto a rope and you're kind of like, if I fall off this, I'm going to die, you can climb up the rope by winding it around your arms, so effectively tying yourself to the rope as you climb up it.
Or your ankles and knees, and then you don't break your wrist. Knees.
That's also true. Yes, which would be a wiser way of doing it, except 4 arms.
Yeah, fair.
So you are tying yourself into the rope as you climb up it to get yourself more secure. And you manage to get back onto the mast. The ship does have a mast, and you are now hanging onto the mast for dear life as the ship is now yawing to the side to a point where it's going to get very dangerous. As Virt, you shoot the steering fin. Roll me to shoot the steering fin, you crazy son of a bitch.
I'm gonna make some requests. So 2 basic.
Yes, 2 basic.
Airship pilot.
For shooting us? No. No, I'm drawing a line somewhere. You do not get to get special dice rolls for shooting your ship.
What do you mean a piece of junk? Add 2d10 to fix it? 2d20 to fix it?
I mean, this is exactly what that exactly means. So yes, by all means.
Excellent. I'm going to use the momentum point I got last time.
Yep.
Which gives me 5 rolls.
Yep.
And can you spend luck after a roll?
You spend luck to buy a dice. If you're rolling 5 dice, you can't.
I thought that the dice...
No, the luck buys successes, not dice.
The luck technically buys dice. Everything you do buys dice, and you can't have more than 5.
Right, in which case I am not going to spend that momentum point. I'm going to roll 4 and see how this goes.
Okay, Justin, I'm going to put it this way.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it this way. At low levels, it's going to be hilarious. At mid levels, it'll work, but not as well as you want it to. At high levels, it will do exactly what you want it to do, but that's like... You've got to be getting a lot of successes to do exactly what you want to do with this.
So I feel like this is going to be daring and reason again, because this is a pretty daring thing to do. And also,
he's daring I'm fine with. Reason I'm not fine with.
He's trying to figure out exactly where would have the precise leverage to clonk this thing and release it.
You piece of shit. Okay, yeah, you can have it. You can have it. I'll give it to you. Fine.
I don't like that at all.
Oh, sorry. So it's reason and daring.
Yes, please.
Come on, baby, hold together. 2 critical ones! Ah! No way!
No way!
Literally, hold still. I'm gonna try and.
It's no. The cameras are set up. Don't do this.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh my god. 2 8s, 2 1s.
And what is
6 successes? And you thought it wouldn't work.
Okay.
It's the ship with your gun.
Basu!
Okay, number 1, you get a momentum point back because you rolled too many.
I didn't even get I didn't even use a momentum point yet.
You get a free momentum point for that nonsense. Okay, there you go.
Spicy boy.
You shoot the steering fin. Oh my god! You shoot the steering fin. Right. Sorry, just trying to process. You shoot it with your gun, and the steering fin. Cling! So it has a sort of like beautiful, like sort of resonant ring, and as it does, it fans out, and as it fans out, it extends because that's how it slows down. It creates air pressure. And as it extends, it almost like grinds itself off its mooring because suddenly it's got a shit ton of air pressure on it out of nowhere. But as it does, it also like the ship almost like almost has a quick jump in the air. Yeah. And it almost spins around too far, but as it comes down and the side comes down, you can stand again. You can go back to the control panel and just like pull the steering fin back in using the controls, and it rights itself. You're having to sort of fly the ship slightly sideways to account for this, but you have managed to right the ship.
Oh, I fixed ship with gun.
Right, Abraham. I need you to roll me how this jerky stop and this jerky twisting stop affects you being tied to the mast, please. You can tell me what stats you want to roll to do this, but you're going to have to.
I think empathy, because I'm trying to work out what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And probably again, Mike, because I'm holding on for dear life.
Yep, go for it. That's fine by me. Roll 2d20.
3.
Hold on to that rope with empathy.
And 11. Now, the 3 obviously is a double success.
Cool, so that's 3 successes.
And the 11's a success as well.
Brilliant. You managed to hold on. The rope doesn't tear out of your hands. You aren't hanging awfully from the rigging. You are just like shoved around a lot, but you're sort of clamped onto the mast as the ship has now righted itself and is flying at a weird angle. Inside, everything's suddenly jolted and you were all thrown around. Let's have rolls from both of you to do this, to land safely. in the midst of all the junk, as this whole thing is just, and also to protect the people.
If it's to protect as well, I might stick with, I don't know, can I land safely using reason, or is it not going to be that?
I think reason's a hard one to call at this point because nothing smart about this.
So I'll stick to empathy for trying to cushion the others if I possibly can.
That's fine.
And then, I don't really know, might? For just trying to land on the squishy bits?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm also going to stick with empathy and might.
Fine by me. Those make a lot of sense to me. Roll those dice.
Isn't very high. Cool. Chris, I'm gonna give you a couple of momentum there.
That's 2 critical successes.
Ooh, Raz.
It's crit o'clock.
And you haven't got to roll any
King of
negatives because the
empathy.
injury's gone. If the injury, you've had the injury, you've had to roll more successes because injuries make things harder. But because it got fixed, you get momentum back. That's good.
I had
Lovely.
two successes total, and I spent 1 momentum to do it.
Grand. 2 is what you... Raz got 4. So what I'm going to say is... Oh, I had a funny colour shift there. Oh, nice. What I'm going to say is between the 2 of you, I'm going to count those as all as one big success for the group. So instead of momentum coming back, you all do it together.
Thanks, Raz.
Between the 2 of you and your big chunky mitts, you manage to grab hold of everyone, hold everyone close, and as boom, the ship rights itself and you're all thrown in this big old pile onto the floor. You are managing to protect everyone as bits of shrapnel are now collapsing to the floor and clattering in, and everyone is fine. It all
Shockingly.
Shockingly, the ship is sort of like the ship has got that kind of like horrible grind noise to it, like it's barely holding together, but it's holding together.
Is everyone
But-
okay?
And you definitely heard a gunshot. You definitely heard a gunshot from the top deck.
I might yell at the check none of the NPCs are broken and bleeding.
Not at all. You rolled more than enough successes to make them
and then
absolutely
go,
fine.
stay put. I'm going and sprint up to see who's been shot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna run too. There might be pirates.
Cool.
Got to go check that out immediately.
Vert, you rolled 6 successes. As they head up to the
Yep.
top deck, what do they see? You can just describe this however you fucking want.
I think what they see is Vert kind of clipped to the thing, holding the steering apparatus, and then kind of like quite calm, just staring with a sort of look at the steering pins, kind of looking and just clearly just sort of trying to work out what's gone wrong, and sort of like, but like still like going really, really, really quickly.
Please tell me you're steering one-handed and the smoking gun is just being held there as you think about it.
Well, I think actually what it is just a moment. It's the kind of thing where one-handed and then just like
scratching the back of your head with the gun.
with the gun, just and we'll probably see you coming out and go, sorry about that. Bit of a miscalculation.
Right. So no threats. No enemies.
Oh no, that was I like to call it percussive maintenance. Everyone all right down there? I know there was some stuff that might have turned into shrapnel down there. I hope no one got too badly.
We need a new shelf for the nails.
Oh, that wasn't a metaphor. Oh, right. Yeah, I think that can probably be handled. Is everyone intact and alive?
Yes, I'm fine,
Sure.
thanks, Vert.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Hey, Brad, what are you doing up there?
I want to see if the pursuers are still pursuing or if we're far enough away now.
You're tied quite high up the mast. Yeah, you can look. No, they're not pursuing you. You've flown too far too quickly. Having a quick scan around, you are currently flying away from where you were. You don't recognize the lands beneath you. You think you're probably way off course to be heading back towards Helium. What you do see up ahead, you're quite knowledgeable about Barsoom, Abraham. You've traveled, yes? Cool.
Yes.
Yes. You would be aware that there are forests on Barsoom. Not many forests, but a few. And there's one up ahead of you that the ship is sort of flying towards. The ship will not get there anytime soon. We're talking a couple of hours at least, but you can see a forest up ahead of you that you're flying towards, and you know that there are some in the vicinity, but you've not seen one in a very long time. They are extremely dangerous.
Good.
Put it this way, the wildlife on Barsoom is terrifying. The jungle wildlife on Barsoom is terrifying.
So it's Barsoomian Australia, basically. Like, that's the kind of vibe we're going for.
Yeah, the spiders have spiders.
Yeah.
Virt, Captain.
Yes, Abraham.
Captain, a few questions. First, when we were supposed to be heading back towards Helium, we're not. We're going to a forest, as I'm sure you know, quite dangerous. Any reason for that? Second, next time we need to take off in a hurry, maybe just down a couple of gears. How's that sound to you? Third, do you have a ladder?
Looking up at Abraham, you realize Abraham said that this entire conversation with you. She's tied herself to the mast upside down.
Point the first. I'm aware of the danger of forests, and on account of the aforementioned miscalculation, this was not intended, and I will rectify it as soon as possible. Point the second. What was the second one?
Gears. Take off gears.
Take off gears. Point the second. Absolutely valid. As mentioned, I have realised that there was a miscalculation and a lapse in judgment on my part, which I apologise. Point the third. I'll see what I can do, but it might have fallen off. And for my own part, I do sincerely apologise. This is deeply embarrassing and very unfortunate that you've ended up there. So please do accept my apologies.
I'm going to start trying to cut myself out of the ropes and climb down.
Cool. What are you rolling to do that?
Anything or better than waiting for a ladder.
No, it's fine. What are you rolling to do that?
Probably reason, because I'm thinking about how to cut the rope.
Yeah, you're being clever about which ropes to cut so you don't fall and injure yourself. This seems fine to me. Go on.
Well, if this is including climbing down, I'd use might. But if it was just for the rope cutting, probably daring or cunning.
Whatever you would need to get out of this situation without falling hilariously.
Oh, okay. So probably might as well, because I'll be hanging on to the mast while trying to work out where to cut the ropes.
Cool. Please do.
That's
2d20.
Terrible roll. That's an 18. and another 3 actually. So that's 2 successes.
2 successes. Yeah. Cool. With 2 successes, you'll be able to cut yourself free and get down, but it will be ungainly.
That's fine, because I'm sort of any opportunity just staring daggers at Virt. Like any slip, I'm like.
Cord, Raz, you have come up onto the deck of the ship and asked, is there anything you'd like to be doing while Abraham is cutting herself loose awkwardly?
Yeah, I heard forest, and I know of the very famous forest that I'm interested in. Is it that forest?
Which very famous forest are you interested in?
The one surrounding Valley Door.
Oh, right. No.
Cool. So Cord has gone suddenly less scientifically interested and more scientifically interested in getting home. Yes. I would like to ask Virt, 2 things. One, the problem with your engine is you're missing a blade in the fan. I think you need to stop the engine, fix it, and turn the engine back on again. And secondly, do you actually know what direction helium is, or do you want me to try and fix your navigation system?
Can we take a step back to the first point?
What, that your engine's super broken?
A little bit after that bit.
That we have to stop the engine and turn it back on again?
Right, because... we're flying.
Okay, Virt, is now the time for you to get patronising about how to fly an airship?
That's not intended to be patronising. This is just me trying to work out.
That definitely gets another stare from Abraham. Like, yeah, Virt.
You dick.
Strangely enough, I am aware that we're flying. Do we have to touch down and fix quickly and then start again, or is it the sort of thing where we could turn the engine off and float for a bit? I don't know how your ship works, nor apparently do you.
I'm happy to lend my
good one,
services
Doctor.
again for any repairs that might be needed.
But if you
Razz,
turn
why
the
don't you go
engine
see
off,
that Tyrrell's okay?
On
if,
it.
if you turn the engine off, the ship's always going to the ship's not going to just drop like a stone. It'll do that sort of like lazy drift and then slow and end into a very, very quick dive.
So if we can fix it within 10
Coordinates, whatever
10
Almost.
zats, then we're
Zats.
probably fine. But if it's going to take more like several towels, we should probably land.
My understanding, the reason I did that bit that sort of ended up coming across as very patronising was because I didn't realise we were going to be able to land. I thought you said that we are. I thought that we are locked at max speed currently.
The way that
my
you
understanding
describe
of it.
the way that you describe your fixing of the ship, yeah, it's currently on or it's off.
Interesting.
Right. So how about you take me downstairs and show me what's wrong with it?
Cool. It's your engine. Let's go.
Abraham, are you staying on the
head
top deck?
downstairs.
Are you staying on the top deck, Abraham, or are you going down to the lower deck?
I think I am going to stay on the top deck because I feel like, I mean, it might just come to a situation where I just want to bail, jump over the side. That'll be the safest
Leave
option.
Razz?
At the speed that this ship is travelling, and at the height the ship is travelling, this would be certain death.
Yeah, it's probably the safer option. Like
I
said.
understand. Okay. Okay, you stay on deck of the ship. That's fine. Raz, you were going down to the deck of the ship to check on Tyrrell.
I'm gonna check on the many NPCs who we left down
Cool.
there.
Tyrrell and Tira are both checking on their father, who is, he's not old, but he ain't no spring chicken either. And he appears to be fine, just a bit battered and a bit bashed around, and trying to just sort of like, it's fine, I'm okay. Everyone, they've got like little nicks and cuts, and like Tyrrell's got a very cool nick right there, just under the eye, looks very, very dashing. Yeah, it's that sort of
Very
like
dashing.
very thin red line, like a dueling scar, just that kind of like, yeah.
Yeah, I offer him a hand. I'm like, well, a bit of adventure for the day, huh?
Yeah. Wow.
Bit daring, bit of fun.
Is the ship okay?
Well, from what I hear, if it takes 10...
This is all in character. This is perfect.
Yeah, Raz has forgotten what the time measurement system is, but it can maybe be fixed, and it must be easy to do because they said they don't need my help on it, so it should be fine.
As you say that, the two of them walk below deck, bickering about how easy or difficult it might be to fix or not. Go on. What are you saying as you walk
Right.
below deck?
I think I'm just trying to. And so what's wrong with it?
The engine is broken.
Which bit?
I told you, the blade and the fans.
Which one?
The big one.
There's three. And
But-
The one the DM said it was.
And how is it? What, like bent or like snapped or
Snapped
twisted?
off. It's what snapped. It's what made everything go kaboom.
Right. Did you see anything else? Anything else go inside the engine and do any damage?
I was a
Did you manage to
bit
get a look?
distracted by all the nails flying in my face.
Yeah.
Also, we could. I mean, it's flying fine at the moment. I mean, we're flying, so we could just leave the engine on a wing and a prayer and try and fix the navigation and then just limp back to helium.
Well, the main issue there is that we're currently sort of the engine currently would seem to be in a situation where it is either on or it's off. So,
Can you fix
I
the
think-
steering with the engine on?
well, I'd rather get the engine fixed because if it packs in entirely and gets worse, I mean, not much point in fixing the steering first. Like, right. Let's have a look at this engine. and maybe. Right, if I can do this by myself and we can split, if you go and fix navigation, that might be good.
Absolutely, I've done that before.
Great. Well, are you doing a bit or?
That was sarcasm.
Right, sorry, I'm not very good at picking up on sarcasm.
Above deck, Abraham is just watching this forest thinking, we're definitely going to end up there, aren't we?
I mean, you're flying towards it like in a beeline, almost like it was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I bet they're bickering. I bet they're still bickering.
So I would like to investigate the engine. Walk out. I can't use my words anymore. What is? Oh, I don't want to turn on the people setting. No, no.
You right there, Justin? Yeah.
Sorry, there's something really weird going on with my computer. It's decided to be like, here, instead of showing you the character sheet which you've opened, I'm going to open you and do a full instructional on how it works. So please excuse me because my character sheet has just gone.
It's all right. While you're finding it, Cordelia, you wanted to go and look at the steering apparatus and see if you could do anything about navigation.
Yes, because I think I'd rather crash land in a desert than a forest.
Wise.
There we go. Got it.
Cordelia, you are okay. Tell me what you want to roll and tell me how you want to try and investigate the navigational controls.
I would like to use...
Please note, the navigational controls are two little wings on either side of the ship that give drag or lift.
Okay. Are they attached to joysticks in the cockpit?
Well, steering.
Oh, there is an actual wheel. Okay.
Sort of like a steering plinth, I imagine. Plinth?
Okay.
Plinth? Yeah, plinth.
Or a plinth?
Maybe, like a kind of little thing to hold on to. Like levers.
Steering levers on a plinth.
Plinth.
I think I would like to use reason for obvious reasons and daring because Cord likes to do everything neatly, test a hypothesis, have control conditions, and this is going to be trying to jumpstart an airship so we don't die horribly. So I think
yes, you're not looking at jumpstarting, you're looking at this navigation. This is
it's like the only engine terminology I know. I am trying to wire some wings to work.
The ship is currently locked. The steering rig. Roll for it first.
Cool. So yeah, daring and reason. It's not my highest, but it seems the most honest.
I appreciate that as a role player.
Thanks. Well, that was a 1 and a 20. That's 2 dice. I'm going to pay you some luck.
Oh.
The first luck token's gone to get an automatic 4 successes now.
4 successes. Splendid. Get momentum back, so that's a starting point. They only needed 3. Okay. The steering is currently steering as far to the left as it possibly can. And the ship's flying straight. If you steer it to the right, it will immediately pitch your overturn quite quickly. So this is not a problem that can be fixed in that description. The only way the navigation is going to be fixed, anyway, is going to solve anything, is by fixing the engine. Otherwise, the ship will literally, if you steer it in any way, either overturn, or if you try to push it even further to the left, which you currently can't do, by, say, expanding the wing or doing something clever on that side of it, it will probably tear off, which will be just as bad, if not worse.
I would like to run back down to Virt and go,
hang on.
Navigation, oh no, the complication.
You rolled a 20.
I did.
Can I just say, I'm using the seatbelt.
What seatbelt? On the steering column?
Yeah.
As a clip. So you sort of meander over and just casually clip yourself into the steering column. Just, Yep.
Fair enough.
Cord, as you are looking at the wing, currently about as extended as it can be, there's a faint and part of it sort of snaps and the whole ship sort of judders to the right, ever so slightly.
Oh,
this
lovely.
might be a time-sensitive issue.
Please tell me it's the bit that Virt shot.
Weirdly, it's not. It's another bit. It's not the bit that would obviously break. It's the other bit that wouldn't obviously break because it was a 20.
That was my repair gun.
Can Cord sprint back down to the engine and say, can't do anything about the navigation until we fix the engine and I think things are breaking, so tell me how to help.
Virt, Roll that fixin'.
Roll that fixin'. So
say here an adventurers wanted.
So yeah,
Roll
basically
that fixin'.
we've got to turn the right. So is there any kind of steering we can do? Because basically, right, let me explain the idea I currently have, which is to basically tilt the ship upwards so that it's basically going to be like a missile, and then when it reaches the top, I'm going to turn the engine off so that we get a little bit more time airborne before we start plummeting to the ground.
It's Pulp Fiction, we'll be fine.
Oh, soon.
I'm not clever enough to dispute this.
I want to turn my ship into a missile. I'm sure it'll be
That's basically
fine.
how planes work. They're just going fast enough that they don't fall down. Plus, there's
pretty please.
funky stuff.
Okay.
Can I say that Virt explains that plan to Cord, and Cord just kind of goes,
Yeah, it's a fair
okay,
reaction.
how can I help?
Yeah, it's a fair reaction. Cool.
Right.
Virt,
So-
can you roll me? What this is going to be is, can you roll me to see how well you think you're going to be able to achieve this plan? In other words, I will give you advice on how to make this plan less suicidal. The more
Well, because but the thing is that there's no other way to fix it in the air. Either we turn the engine off and try to fix it plummeting out the air quicker, or we turn it on and try to fix it plummeting out the air with marginally more time. Like
true. But
either
also,
way,
if
we
you,
plummet.
True, but I want to give you so many like flight information things, but I also want you to roll before I give you all the free shit. Can you please roll me something to make this plan so I can advise you on ways to do it that won't kill you?
Reason and I mean, I've used reason and daring a lot, which is getting dull. I feel
if
like
they are the things that make the most sense, you're welcome to do it. Or you could try and look at the people around you and see how many people are going to die if you don't do this right. You know, that sort of thing.
Well,
Can I help with this?
I've got
or-
crap empathy. Yeah,
you were
I
doing.
think-
You were doing the. You were looking at the navigation while Vert was looking at this.
Gotcha.
You will have
I
rolls
think-
to. You will have rolls to
Raz
help
actually
do the
pops
thing.
his head up. Is like, hey, doctor just wanted some updates. What should I tell him about the engine?
Death.
Tell them we got it in hand and to hold on to something, and if they can hold on to something away from the flying stuff, then that would be better.
Raz, do you want to roll me a quick check to do a quick tidy?
A quick tidy.
Yeah, to make sure that everything is not going to
Oh,
fly around and
yes.
hurt people.
Well, hang on. Would Raz tidy? Is Raz a tidier?
I can be tidy.
Raz
That's
is
a
a
character trait
caring.
Raz could have.
Raz is a caring and considerate pro wrestler that has been established. So I think realizing that shrapnel might hurt people.
Okay, I'm
sounds nice to
gonna
do.
say empathy because I'm thinking about everyone else, and
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
not gonna have nails in dangerous places this time. And
Like in your bag.
I'll just hang on to this. I'm just going to hold it. It'll be fine.
And it's got to be, I guess, cunning or reason, which are both not great because
It's up to
Russell
you.
isn't very clever.
It's up to you.
Can I?
Raz.
It wouldn't be cunning. It's gonna have to be reason and empathy,
Do it. Sounds
and I'm
great
just
to
gonna
me.
have to roll really well.
Do it. 2d20. Hit me.
Oh well. Okay, that's one success.
Yeah. Do you
Can
want to
I
spend
use
some-
one momentum?
Of course you can.
Please tell me
Thank you.
that with the one success is just you gathering up the nails and putting them back exactly where they were before.
I don't put them anywhere. They just kind of sit in my hands.
It's holding a pile of nails.
Like I've still got my blood on them, and I'm just
Oh.
like,
I've got this
no.
pile of hot nails. I'm just going to hang on to them.
if I use momentum, do I re-roll one dice?
Oh, you don't re-roll. You're adding a new dice.
Adding a new dice, just one.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Delightful. No,
Raz, you are
still
collecting
holding
up
my nails.
a lot of the shrapnel and just holding it and going, I'm helping. And you're holding a lot of this shrapnel now just onto yourself. Like, you've got it.
This is fine.
This is
That'll
fine.
help.
Vert, Roll me to. Are you doing that roll for me? Have you done that roll
so
for me?
probably going to be reason and cunning because it's a purely intellectual exercise.
Go for it.
I mean, the daring might come in the actual fixing.
Yeah.
Am I going to get my bonus for being an airship pilot?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to roll and then I'm going to add momentum and luck as is necessary.
Grandiose.
So, reason and cunning is 7 plus 5, which is I need to roll under a 12. And I have done so with another critical success. 12, 4, so that's 2, 12, 4, and 1. So my lowest one was cunning, which is 5. So I've got 5 successes.
Cool. Justin, you get my momentum for this. I'm just going to talk you through some of the physics of this. If you steer a ship upwards, you're creating more air drag because the air hits the bottom of the ship, so you're also slowing it down. If you tilt an airplane of any kind upwards, it slows down. Not only are you trying to raise the weight of it significantly upwards, you're also creating more air drag by exposing the hull, because the whole point of the nose of a ship being flat is that it goes through the air quite quickly, to more air pressure. In other words, if you do steer it upwards to try and get more lift out of it, you will also slow it down considerably, which means it will fall in a much lower parabola arc. If you do it straight, you'll be in the air longer than if you do it up and down very quickly.
Okay, then. Well, we'll run it going flat then.
What you could do is start to slowly gear it slightly upwards, try and get a lift out of it. So use the engine to generate lift.
So yeah, so that's what I was. I wasn't intending to do like a fucking vertical like
like a missile.
Like a missile is what you described.
But when you say a missile, with intercontinental ballistic missile, it's going in a relatively gentle arc and it's going up like that. It's inscribing a parabola.
Inscribing a parabola.
I've watched Kerbal Space Program videos.
You can inscribe a parabola if you like. You're welcome to.
Yeah.
In which case you'll be it'll be getting cold on the deck of the ship as you break bits of the atmosphere. But you will also be giving yourself more time in the air to let momentum and drag hold it in the air for long enough you can fix the engine and kickstart it before it gets down too low.
Cool. Yeah, works for me.
Grand. That plan, you describe it to Cord, and it's so crazy it might work. Sure. As you formulate this plan, Abraham, you're still on the deck of the ship, aren't you?
Yeah, and it doesn't sound like breaking parts of the atmosphere will be good for anyone above deck.
You haven't heard this plan yet. You're just
no, I know. Deck. I didn't hear Virt say, "Oh, tell the people inside to hold on to something" either. But hey ho, luckily I was strapping myself into a seatbelt and thinking that forest is getting closer.
I mean, Abraham, I will point out that Virt will have to be flying the ship to get it to lift and drag, so there's plenty of time before this happens, which is probably a good thing. Roll me a reason and daring, please. You're muted, mate. I cannot hear you. Toby, you're muted. I can't hear you.
1 and 4.
Okay.
I'm not even going to check what my stats are because that's such a good roll. Reason and daring, did you say? Please. My daring is 5 and my reason is 5. So yeah, that's
4 successes. Cool.
4.
Take 2 momentum points.
Yes.
Looking at the forest, which is now coming up quite fast because the ship's going quite quickly. Rising out of the forest are sort of lots of small little black dots, and you start to hear a sort of buzzing, swarming noise.
Oh.
Do I know what these are with my wonderful 1? Critical 1 and stuff?
Critical 1. You'd be aware of Sith. Sith are not the villains from Star Wars, but massive insects that tend to live in the forests of Barsoom and are terrible.
Okay, and they're rising because they can hear the hum of our engine, I assume.
Oh, yeah.
How far away do I think we are? Average wingspan of a South African Sith? Monty Python quote.
I think we're pausing.
Rebecca, do you need a break?
I just have a slight preemptive thing of if you go describing insects in a lot of detail, I go really funny.
Oh, so don't worry. I won't do a vivid insect description. Cool. That's absolutely fine.
Preemptive pause.
Not a problem at all. They're Fagnum. So You can hear the buzzing. You think they're flying up straight towards the ship, which is now flying towards the forest and flying out and away from it. You reckon you probably got about 5 minutes before they fly up towards the ship. What would you like to do?
I'm going to go quite carefully, but with a certain amount of measured pace below deck.
Okay, you go below deck. Vert, are you going above deck to start doing this?
I am going above deck to start steering upwards.
Abraham, Vert, you cross streams.
Vert, there's Sith coming from the forest. I think we've got about 5 minutes before they intercept us. How's the engine and everything?
Oh, great. Good. So we're probably going to need to change the plan in that case. So good to know. Thank you for the information. And I think that is just going to sort of, with a sort of slightly brittle smile, is just going to walk past you, clip onto the thing, and just sort of start steering upwards with just sort of.
I'm really hurriedly getting below deck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I assume that we have talked through an actual plan where you steer and I fix the engine, or is with an agreed signal of when to stick my hands in the whizzing metal thing?
So the way that I was
presumably
the way that I was going to envisage it is that Vert steers upwards, and at the right time will lock the steering, kill the engine, and basically sprint downstairs to help you.
Cool.
And
so if we go with I'm getting the materials,
so you're like
prepared
getting
in the right
set
place.
Up, and that makes sense. That makes sense. And you know your way around airships, so you're probably like, oh look, this random piece of junk that was being used to hold up a shelf is a spare, that kind of thing.
Raz is holding a wide variety.
Am I still holding on to these nails?
Raz is holding a wide variety of important
want of a nail.
Bloody nails. Excellent. Vert, you can now see the approaching swarm of Sith, and there are lots.
Chris, how large are Sith?
Sith are the size of an average red Martian and look a bit like a wasp.
If we're below deck, are we more or less safe from them?
Vert has described this ship as no longer having any accoutrements on the outside, so the hull's probably pretty thin.
But they can get through.
Oh no, they're huge, mate. They're not going to get through like tiny little buzzing holes. They're the size of a red Martian. They're going to have to
that's me. They're my size.
Yeah, but can they tear panels off or whatever? Are they?
They do seem to have sort of like 6 legs with glaspy things. Yes.
Okay. I'm going to try and find Dr. Kant.
Dr. Kant is standing by the engine, and with Raz, who is holding lots of important shrapnel.
I'm speaking under my breath, so the not children can't hear. Dr. Kant, we are flying towards the forest, and a large amount of Sith have heard our approach and are coming to intercept us. We've got a few minutes yet, but can I trust that Vert is doing something to save us?
Essentially, we have a plan where either by the time they reach us, we will have the engine turned on, the engine fixed, the steering fixed, and we'll be able to fly safely in the opposite direction, or we'll have already plummeted to the ground and be dead. So either way, we're probably okay.
Oh, good. Can I hold any of them for you, Raz?
How many do you want to take?
I'm happy to share the load of holding stuff.
You can
not
start picking
asking
up more stuff.
Why.
Vert will be sprinting down here in a few zats. We need to make sure there is a very clear gangway from those stairs to this engine. But yes, I think all 3 of us essentially get to be flower girls and just hand him things when he asks them.
He did say he'd changed the plan as he started going towards the steering wheel, but I don't know.
The ship is now having a faint sort of crackling and rattling. Like it's now the atmospheric pressure is getting quite high. Your ears pop slightly, and it's almost getting a bit chilly. And Vert, you're starting to feel like you're flying higher than you should. Like this is dangerous territory.
In which case, it is time to kill the engine and run downstairs.
Okay, talk me through how you're going to do this.
Okay, so insofar as I am able, I would like to, if I can rig the steering so that it is not being encouraged to nosedive. So whether there's a way to kind of, sort of, I don't know.
You'd have a way to autopilot it to fly in a straight line.
Like sort of autopilot, basically, to fly in a straight line.
Yeah.
Lock that in place to fly in a straight line, and then sort of a few breaths to get himself into the right head place, and then is just going to run downstairs and get to the engine as quickly as possible. And now I think the engine.
You're going to cut the engine. Like, how is
it? As I view it, the engine is cut in the hull. So you don't cut the engine. It's not like you've got an ignition key on top. You've got speed control.
Turned it on. You turned it on.
I turned it on at the steering wheel. Okay, then in which case we can turn it off at the steering. It's basically going to turn it off at the steering wheel and then run down.
Is it a button? Is it like a switch?
I think it's probably like a kind of switch, like a kind of like.
Okay.
You know, like those things they have. You know, like the things they have in the ships. You know, like the circuit things with the ding, 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 full speed ahead.
I mean, technically, that's a message being sent to the rooms to put less coal in the engine, but you know, like.
Yeah, well, you know, that kind of thing. So it's going to be like, but this one is the control rather than the message. Well, so that's going to be like, pull that, and then yes, I think so.
Cool. As you stand there, psych yourself, going, cool, here we go. Here we go. You... And the engine, you can all see, just stops and starts spinning down. And the ship just coasts. And slowly you can see it starting to dive ahead of you, Virt, as you just sprint forward and dive in. And as you can see, it's diving straight towards this swarm of gigantic insects, all flying up to meet the ship and presumably devour it. You don't know. Sith attack. They are violent. They are dangerous. But you've never seen an entire swarm attack a ship without like passengers on board for them to eat or anything like that. Like, it seems kind of weird. But as you turn and run and head below, and as the engine and the ship starts to rise to the top of the parabola, that's where we're going to take our break.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah. So, this crazy situation these fools got themselves into, will they get out of it? I don't know. But yes.
Sorry that this is largely as the result of the things I've said. I am very sorry.
Said every roleplay ever. I'm sorry, this is largely as a result of the things that I said. Oh, I need to use that next time I have a breakup or something like that. It's ideal. Anyway, thank you, everyone. Join us again in about 5 to 10 minutes, where we will pick up where we left off with the nosedive of doom. Splendid. See you in a sec.
See you in a moment.
And we're back. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Welcome to the second half of... Take your sunglasses off. There we go. Welcome to the second half of Phantom of Mars, Chapter 3, which I think we're going to tentatively title Jungle, Insects, Ship. Good. So, where we left...
I thought you were going to say, we're going to call it Covered in Bees.
Covered in Bees!
Let's call it that. Let's call it Covered in Bees. I prefer that. So... Just in case you've just joined us, we are playing the John Carter RPG from Modifius Entertainment, and this crew of reprobate idiots has managed to get themselves into a crazy situation. Virt is about to run below deck, having turned the engine off on this flying airship, hoping to have created enough of an arc parabola to be able to fix the engine before the ship crashes into the horrible Barsoomian forest beneath you. At the same time, the ship is about to be assaulted by human-sized wasps. Human-sized wasps.
Or Martian-sized wasps.
Yeah, sure. Right. So, Virt, you've just turned off the engine. The ship is now doing this sort of like slow. It's horribly quiet. Like painfully quiet. Yeah. Like, oh god. And as it starts to do this, and the three of you stand next to the engine, it just sort of starts winding down. You all get this very vague sense of like, because the ship is now slowly falling, you're getting a vague sense of like artificial, like fake gravity, because you're starting to feel a lot lighter because the ship is now falling through the air. Virt, as you run towards the deck of the ship, ahead of you, this gigantic swarm of angry wasps known as Sith. Not that kind of Sith, this kind of Sith.
Do they have a lord?
Yeah, a queen.
There's certainly more than two of them as well.
Oh, I love Star Trek.
Thank you.
Use the Force, Spock.
Yeah, you're a Sith, Harry. Right, so
I shall not use the Force.
as the sky whale, could never more aptly named, does a very slow, ponderous turn towards falling. Virt, as you run towards the hatch and dive towards it, can you please roll me an empathy and passion test?
Empathy and passion.
Yes.
Two of my weakest things.
It's almost as though Chris has our character sheets.
Okay.
You know what you're implying? This is a book adventure. I didn't make any of this up.
So that's a spicy empathy and passion. Did you say?
Yeah,
that's a spicy 2 fails. So I'm going to bung in that luck point that ended up not getting rolled earlier because I had some IRL luck points. Mm-hmm. I'm going to bung in 1 luck point and 1 momentum point.
Cool. So you have 2 successes.
2 successes, and I'm going to roll this momentum point and get a 3rd failure.
Cool. You are only
I have
partially...
2 successes.
Cool. You are only partially affected by this.
Chris, can I just lean towards Razh and say, as all the engines cut out and it's eerily silent, I just say, why are we holding this stuff?
Well, I picked it up and then I couldn't figure out where to put it next, and I kind of just kept going back to step 1. It will come in useful later. There'll be something later and I'll be glad I'm still holding the nails.
I just start trying to flatten myself against a wall as though that will help if I come out from orbit.
Virt, as you run to the hatch and flip it open, the droning of the Sith ahead of you, and you can see them now starting to approach. Well, sorry, as the skywell starts to fall towards them that way, you have 2 fear. You take 2 fear damage on your fear tracker.
2 fear.
You are 2 fear. At the moment, you don't have a fear affliction yet, but you are realizing quite how much of a risk you are taking at the moment, and quite how dangerous this situation is. So you take the 2 damage, mark that down on your stress tracker. I
have done so.
Lovely. And you can always take an action to try and shake your head and clear it. That is perfectly fine. However, at this point, you haven't taken a fear affliction, so it's just on the tracker. That's where it is.
On the tracker. Fair enough.
Oh, diving into the hatch and beneath the ship. The other three are there. Abraham weirdly flattening herself against the side of the ship for some reason or another. The doctor and the kids are not sure what's going on. They haven't really asked, just sort of sitting, taking all this in without not wanting to rock the boat. Virt, you dive below deck and you're running back to where the others are. What are you doing?
I am going to try to get to the engine as quickly and efficiently as possible. I'm relying on Cordelia's exceptionally good. I tried to say Dr. Cordelia Kant and then just said Cordelia instead. Dr. Kant. I rely on Dr. Kant's expertise to just. I'm not even. I think that I'm not even giving her instructions. I think I'm just banking that she knows what to do. And I'm going to attempt to fix the engine. I'm going to attempt to replace this missing fan intake.
Go for it.
So that's going to be
dice.
four of them.
Because of your talent.
Because of my ability. And I presume this is going to be reason and... It makes sense for it to be reason and cunning rather than reason and daring.
Are you sort of focusing your mind and being very calm and going, I don't care.
I think it's
the
not that
ship
kind
is
of thing.
a big metal rock.
Yeah, he's kind of used his adrenaline for this as much as this. Like getting off was enough adrenaline, and that's gone wrong. I think that it's like this is the time to be cool, calm, and focused. So that's going to be 4. My reason plus I'm going to need a 12 or better.
Cordelia, are you helping with this? You said you wanted to be assisting. Cool. Can you roll me 1d20 on top of that and tell me what stats you're using to assist?
I think very similarly, reason and cunning. Fine. I don't think empathy, because we talked it through before, so I'm not trying to deduce what he's thinking. I'm just following instructions.
Yeah.
Do it. Do it.
So I'm rolling 4, and I'm going to leave the next one free if I need to use a luck point.
Grand.
Because I'm definitely going to need a luck point because I needed a 12. I have 20.
You've got a
17.
Yeah.
A 13 and a 12.
So you have 1 success at the moment. Cord, what did you roll?
Oh dear.
I rolled a 2 and a 4, so I have 4 successes.
You only get to roll 1 dice when you're assisting.
And I rolled a 2, so I have 2 successes.
Fine.
I'm going to spend a luck point. So I'm going to spend a luck point.
So you currently have 3 successes on this insane thing you're doing.
3 successes.
And use a luck, and if you use a luck, that makes it 5.
Wait. 3, including Cordelia. Yes.
Yes. So that means if you use a luck, that's an immediate 5 successes.
Is this the 3rd luck point I've used, or the 2nd? I accidentally scribbled it out.
I believe it's the 3rd.
It's the 3rd, yeah, because I used a luck point I didn't use earlier. Got it. Gotcha.
That's fine. Between the two of you, you are rapidly and calmly and collectedly and composedly removing the fan, putting a new piece in, taking your time, doing it right, not rushing, not being daring, but for once just being calm, collected, practical, and doing it as quickly as possible.
Can I, regarding the actual dice rolls there, can I do a little bit of a fluff thing?
Of course. Which
is that anyone else watching wouldn't notice, but Cordelia being close notices that Virt is actually shaking and panicking and is trying to control it and trying to do it. And it's actually, she's the one that ends up it sort of starts out with him starting to do it, and she ends up being the one who's actually kind of doing the most detailed bits of the fixing. And it's sort of like, no, you've got the wrong thing there, try again. And is sort of just being very sort of PhD kind of supervisor, like try it again kind of thing.
And I fluff back that is absolutely what happens, but then once Cord realizes why that's going on, she takes a second, just puts her hand on Virt's and goes, "You're brilliant at this, it's gonna be all right," and then carries on doing it.
Excellent.
And yeah, there's just a kind of like a lot of that tension that was in the shoulders drops, and that's the luck point, I think.
Wonderful. As you are both doing this, it'll take a bit of time, and as you are like fixing the engine, and as the ship is slowly starting to tip forward as it starts to dive, all of you can hear things bouncing off the hull. You rolled a 20 with a horrific grinding crack. There is a and a gigantic Sith, an almost purpley coloured wasp is falling into the ship as the hull cracks, and it lands in. It's taken some damage from flying, and it's in the middle of this space, moving around, trying to get its bearings, trying to understand what's going on. Raz, Abraham, do you do anything while these two are?
I had a pistol
fixing?
out before you started speaking.
I'd like to drop the nails, please.
On
Is
the
it like
wasp.
dropping the hammer, or?
I will give you both an action if you want it, because the Sith is confused. It has just been like bundled into the hull of a ship. There's a hole in the side of the ship, and you can see more of them out there. But currently, the ship's flying through them too fast for him to like target and fly in. One has just sort of been dragged in by hitting it too hard, and it's looking a bit hurt. Do the two of you want? Do you want to shoot it, Abraham? Is that what you're saying? And Raz, do you want to like run up and try and grab it to make sure it doesn't hurt
Yeah,
people?
my body's a weapon. I want to try and run and grab it if possible.
Cool. Do you want to shoot it before Raz runs and grabs it, Abraham?
I mean, certainly reason and almost certainly game mechanics would say yes, that's the course to take. But because of Abraham's respect and adoration of Raz, I'm certainly going to take the lead from Raz. And although the hand is already going to the pistol, I've dropped a jar of screws, which I also had to get the pistol out. I'm going to see what happens.
Okay, Raz, go for it.
Okay. Raz is actually going to turn right back to you and says, "You know, you take the lead.
I shoot the wasp."
This is your
Because as soon as there's even a moment of not
The swelling,
are they?
the swelling strings just cut.
Are they sort of they're not sentient, they're more like monstrous, right?
They are sentient, but not particularly. They have a reason score of 1, so you know.
That's not sentient.
Okay.
Does it count as a beast or a minion?
It is a monster. It's a beast,
Okay.
so it's not a minion.
Yeah, okay, so I shoot it with a pistol.
Okay. So cunning plus reason for shooting based attacks.
I have expert aim, and I don't have a rule book in front of me.
That's fine.
So could you check expert aim?
Of course
for
I can,
me,
babe. Doing it right now.
please. So it was cunning and reason, did you say?
Cunning and reason to take. Hang on, before you do, because expert aim might give you more dice, or it might do something. Here we go. You gain a bonus 2d20 when attacking with a firearm, provided you didn't move during this turn, which you haven't. You're just shooting it.
Nice.
That's fine.
That's 40-20, y'all.
Make the attack roll.
That's
Big.
13, lucky for some. 14, less lucky. 17, much less lucky. 8, luckier. And I
Okay.
have cunning of 7 and did you say oh, they're both the same. So that is 12. So I think I got 1 success.
1 success. Cool.
I think so, yeah.
I just rolled a defensive roll for the Sith, and I got 1 success as well.
Does that mean if I use a momentum, I can add some dice and shoot it?
Didn't we rule before that attacker always wins if it's a draw? Is it not that? I feel like we
I'm
used
just
that mechanic
checking.
in combat before.
I'm just checking. If the attack hits.
I
Yes.
feel like those
Hang on.
bants tearing me to pieces did do that a couple of times. So I think you're right, Rebecca. I think you're right.
Yes, so you do hit it. That is correct. So
Yes.
roll me damage on the attack. That's fine.
And that's a 1d6, 2d6.
Oh, God, Toby. Why is this not on your character sheet?
I mean, every weapon does the same damage.
It does. That's true. Can each source of damage inflicts a minimum of 1? Weapons have qualities. I'm just going to check all of this. Let's do it right.
I've got a gun on my character sheet.
Guns do fear damage on top of that, I believe, because they're guns.
My pistol does a base damage of 2, and it's fearsome.
Yes.
Nice.
Firearms. Firearms roll a base damage of 2, and they are fearsome. Correct.
Nice.
So roll me 2, and let me know what you get on the d6s.
That's a 6, which who knows what that means in the system.
1
And a
damage plus 1 effect.
3, which is nothing, I think.
3 is nothing. So you do 1 damage plus 1. So you do 1 damage to its. You do 1 damage to its. 1 damage to its injury tracker, and 1 damage to its fear tracker.
Can I use momentum for damage, or is it just for hitting?
You can use momentum, I believe, to roll more shots, more damage. I'm just checking. All right, rules. Momentum spending. No, you can use momentum to get extra dice rolls, i.e. to hit more often, but you didn't. Create opportunity to counter strike, quality of success, scope of success. Additional targets.
This is good because we want people to learn the rules by watching this.
Exactly.
This is all deliberate. I actually know everything in the rules.
I have an encyclopedic understanding.
I'm just going to check another thing that I've got. I think you can use momentum, too many books, to do more damage. I'm just going to check my big old DM screen I got here. Momentum spend, increase quality of success. No, luck lets you perform additional conflict action. Roll extra damage. Yes, after seeing an attack, before you roll damage, you can spend momentum to roll extra combat dice. Yes, you can spend a point momentum for 1 bonus combat dice.
But is that before you roll damage?
I'm happy to let you do more. It's fine.
I'm going to use it just because I've got like 2 extra momentum still, so why not?
Go for it.
Can I? Oh no, because it's more expensive the more you use it. 1.
Which is just 1 damage. Cool.
Okay, cool.
So you do 2 damage and 1 fear damage to it as you shoot it up with your pistol. Totally fine. Raz, what are you? Abraham just shot the Sith. What are you doing?
So it's been shot.
Smash.
There is a bang and a crack as the Sith sort of its large eyes sort of looking around wildly trying to understand what's going on, and there's a crack in its carapace and some purple ooze out of it as you shoot it.
I'm going to try and grapple it with my big arms. Hasn't done us any harm yet, so I'm just going to try and keep it still.
How are you going to attack it? What are you? So you're gonna what are you gonna roll for the attack? I think it's probably a daring.
Might and daring. I was thinking.
It's daring plus. This is an average using cunning. Cunning plus daring is the default. Cunning plus reasons for shooting attacks. Cunning and daring for fighting. You could often use cunning and passion if you wanted to insult, or cunning and might for intimidation or grappling. It's up to you, really.
I will go cunning and might for intimidation.
Okay, so it's sort of like grabbing it and like holding it back. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I hold him up by 2 of my arms.
You can either be dealing injury or you can be dealing fear. I don't mind which.
I'm going to deal fear.
Okay.
So sorry, we said cunning and might?
Cunning and might, yes, please.
Delightful. Well, okay, that's... That's 1 success. I'd like to spend a momentum to roll again.
Sure.
To roll another die.
Yeah, of course, that's fine.
Thank you. Oh, okay. So that's 2 successes overall.
2 successes. Well, I rolled 2 successes as well, one of which was a natural 1. So that's 3 successes. You don't damage it. You do run up and grab hold of it and just like you're holding it in place and trying to stop it from doing anything. It isn't scared of you. It doesn't have a concept of why you would be scary, but you are holding it in place for the time being.
Well, that's a bruise to the old ego, but that's fine.
Right. Virt and Cordelia are currently doing the engine fixins. The Doctor and the kids are just staring blankly, not quite sure what to make of this whole situation. Whereas the Sith is going to try and stab you with its stinger.
Oh, no.
Can you please roll me to defend against an attack? You need to roll me a daring plus, passion for bravely meeting a sword thrust, empathy to sense when an attack is directed. It's one or the other. Daring and another stat. Which stat would you like to use?
This is Poe, right?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm dumb. I did not know you were talking to me.
Sorry,
daring another stat. I'd God. I guess cunning would make sense.
Daring and cunning. I'll allow that. That's fine. Roll me a daring and cunning. 2d20.
Oh no.
Ugh.
I'd really like not to die.
I cleaned your
Ooh,
wood.
that is 1 double success, so 2 successes.
Cool. I have rolled no successes. I'm going to use some of my threat, which I have some left over of, to roll 2 more. Cool. That is 2 successes as well. You can spend momentum to avoid the hit if you try and avoid the hit if you want. At the moment, I'm going to be stabbing you because attacker wins.
Oh, why not? I have forearm for war. That gives me extra momentum in a way I don't fully understand.
If you hit with an attack, you get more momentum.
I'll do some hitting in the future.
No.
It'll happen.
Cool.
So I get momentum because I have forearm for war.
Yes. Yeah, so
no, absolutely not. So
cool. It stabs you. It stabs you with its stinger.
Oh no!
Oh, this is just not a great day for Razh.
Ooh, 1, 2, 3, 4. You take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. You take 6 points of damage. You take 6 points of injury damage. You are wounded, which means all might and cunning attributes it increases the difficulty to do anything with them. As its gigantic stinger just hits you in the side. Can you roll me a might and reason test?
Didn't you already have 5 and now you've got another 6?
No, that was healed up by you. That's done.
Okay, that's gone.
Okay, that is sorry, did you say I had like less might now?
Yes, technically it just becomes harder because of this. So don't worry about that. That's for me to work out difficulty. What did you get on a might and reason test?
Oh no, because it's the lowest. Oh, that's fine.
That's fine.
Oh no, okay. I got 2 passes.
2 passes. Okay,
Yeah,
you will need
but
3
my
not to be
reason
affected by this.
Bad, so no criticals.
You will need 3 to not be affected by this. It's a stinger.
I'll do some hitting in the future, and I'll get this back. Yes. Okay, that's a success. That's 3 successes.
Cool. The injury stabs into you, and you feel like the injector, the stinger, is definitely pumping something into you with that strike, but you're not affected by it. You shake it off, and you're just holding on for dear life in a sort of battle of strength with this massive fucking insect. Great.
Razh is a performative wrestler. He doesn't usually get really badly hurt.
Oh, pop it.
Razh, Abraham, I'm going to go back to the top of the turn order. Virt and Cordelia, you are coldly and calmly fixing this engine, and by the end of this round, it'll be fixed. And the ship is now very much, not in a nosedive, but it is very much like you can feel like it's speeding up with the speed of falling. Like it's definitely about to become a big problem. And there's still the around the outside as it bumps off various more Sith. Abraham and Razh, what would you like to do?
I just realised that the steering wheel is above deck where...
Yeah, it is.
Where the swarm is.
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
That's where the crank is, where you turn the engine on, as established.
I'm going to kind of clock the situation that Razh might not be having the best of melee combat experiences, and that I've got
some hitting in me in the future.
Yeah, I'm probably more accustomed to wrestling Martians rather than wasps. So I'm just gonna sort of drop all the stuff I'm holding and like get out all the stabby things with my arms and just like pile in and start trying to stab the shit out of this wasp.
Cool. Roll me a cunning plus daring for melee-based combat. And I roll a daring plus that.
10 and a 13. Cunning and daring. That's 12. So that's 1 success. But I'm going to use stuff because I've got loads of it.
Okay.
And also, do you like hit more times if you get more successes, or is it just, yay, well done?
No, you're trying to beat each other. It's a contested roll, and if you hit, you do damage.
Okay, well, I'm just going to use a momentum off the cuff.
You don't need to if you don't want to, because I rolled 2 failures.
Oh. So there's no point.
No, you run in and chung, you hit it with one of your swords. Roll me the damage on your sword. Your sword is a bladed weapon, and bladed weapons, I think, just do extra damage on it.
Because they are sharp.
Sharp.
Yeah, they
that's
use
right.
sharp damage.
Cool, they use sharp damage. So just roll me.
Swords do 2. I remember this. Daggers do 1. Swords do 2. I'm definitely using the swords.
So that's 2 damage dice, and if you roll the effect, it's just more damage.
And I can use momentum to roll extra damage.
That is correct. You can. Yes.
So I'm going to do that straight off the cuff. I'm going to use 3 momentum, so I roll 2 extra damage dice.
No, you'd roll 3 extra. It's 1 per dice, so you'd roll 3 extra damage dice.
Oh, so it's not like the D20s. Nice. Well, I'm going to do that anyway.
Big.
So don't forget, you get 1 momentum back already because you're forearmed for war.
Already done it.
Okay, baby.
And spent it.
How many momentum do you have left if you spend 3 on this now?
4, because I had 7 with the added. Yeah.
Amazing. Great.
It's just chucking them up.
As Razh is holding this thing tight, and as the stinger jabs into Raz's side, you just dive in and just like stab the sword in deep down the side. Roll me all that damage. That's a heavy one.
So that's 5 dice, because it's 2 plus the 3. Okay.
Yeah. Roll me all that damage.
That's a 2, a 1,
3,
a 1,
4,
a 5,
7,
and another 1. And that was
8.
5.
You do 8 stabbing damage, which is a lot in this game.
It explodes.
Oh no. You run in and you stab deeply into its side. You've definitely injured it. It has a wound, but also it's not enough to take it down in one go. You have stabbed it very hard. You've gotten through. Monsters have a thing called menace. That's how many times they have to be taken beyond a certain point. You've taken it down 1 menace track. It is now looking hurt, but it is not down and out to the count. Raz, what would you like to do?
Oh, good.
Okay, so I'm holding this little fucker with like 2 hands.
It is little for
and with
you
the
because
other
it's a
2,
Martian
I'd like
size. And you're
to
green Martian.
drive into, like, it's like humanoid, right?
No, it's a wasp.
Oh no, it's a wasp. Into the body mass of this wasp, I want to attack with my 2 unoccupied arms.
Wasps have a sort of, excuse me for this, Rebecca, if it ever gets too insecty, do tell me. Wasps have sort of various bits of their body. There's a part of wasp called a thorax, which is basically like its abdomen, where you can.
I was going to say, punch it in the thorax.
Right in the thorax.
Right in the thorax.
Get it in the spiracles.
It's because we kept saying it was the size of a red Martian in my head. I'm like, okay, red Martian, but make it wasp.
Attack of the Wasp people.
Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's just a red Martian with just a papier-mâché wasp head and like wings strapped on. Yelling buzz. The fear came from just the response to seeing them.
BoJack Horseman.
This is how I'm picturing them now, and it's all fun.
Yeah.
Okay, I have rolled to defend, and I have rolled 0. So I might use threat, I might not. Tell me what you roll first for an attack roll. So you're using your physical attack. So that's if you use cunning plus might, then it's harder for you to hit because of the wound. If you use cunning plus daring, which is more of a sort of not like physical strength, it's more of it's like just hitting it hard, then you won't be affected by that.
I can't use passion, can I?
You can use passion. That would affect its fear tracker, not its injury tracker.
Okay. Okay.
If you do
I'll
that,
use
you could.
passion.
It's already taken a pretty heavy hit, so you could cow it. Like the whole point of a fear tracker being full is that it will get scared and try and back off. Like this isn't always a game where you have to defeat them with stabbing them to death.
I know, but I want to hit it.
Okay, then cunning and daring, please.
I will do me a cunning and daring. So
Do
just double checking what my stats are on that. They're not good, but let's see. No. Hang
That's
on.
0.
I'm gonna use my last momentum.
Okay, do it.
This is fine. Okay, that's more like it. Yeah, that's that is a critical, so that's 2.
That's 2. Okay, you hit it. You don't have the ability to. You don't have the ability to add on any more damage dice, so you're just rolling 1d6.
But you do get
Will
a
do.
momentum for forearm.
Oh, you could use that momentum to roll 2d6 for damage if you wanted to, or you could save that momentum for later in the combat. It's up to you.
I will. Well, I rolled a 3.
Okay, that's no damage at all.
Well, then I'll use that. I'll
Cool.
use that
Right.
momentum.
Fine, no problem.
No, that's another 3.
You grab it, but you sort of use your other hand, sort of like pummeling it in the thorax. You're not breaking through its chitin, though. You're just sort of like knocking it around, but you're not actually some angry wasp acting.
Rough day for Razh.
Rough day for Razz. Very rough day for Razz. Vert court. Can't. God damn it. Vert court can't.
Thought cat.
Bort.
We're out of Bort license plates.
Bort. So the two of you are now fixing the engine. I'm going to say that if one of you looks at this and realizes that you want to help, you can. If you do decide to help, because you rolled 5 successes, I'm already allowing that it's fixed. One of you can step back while the other does the last twinges to help out if you want to.
Vert, do you want to keep fixing and I'll do some punching?
Works for me.
Cool. Yeah, I will step back and get my dagger out and go stabby.
You're going to leap on the wasp.
Actually, no, I'm not. I have a gun. I'm gonna shoot it with a gun.
Shoot it with a gun.
I knew
Because
when
that
Dr.
stinger
Can
is
said
because the stinger's going to
punching.
be about the same length as me, right? So I don't want to get too close to that.
Oh no, it's not. It's not. The stinger's like big. Like the stinger's the size of like a forearm, but it's not.
Oh, it's not human, Martian sized. Cool. Well, it still looks pretty nasty, so I would rather shoot at it than leap on its face.
Cool. Use me a
So-
cunning plus reason as the default when doing shooting attacks.
That is another reason why I like guns, because I don't have to use other things.
Oh, I
In
rolled
character,
real
right?
bad for defending. Like I had a really good D&D roll, but
Well, I got me 3 successes.
yeah, you shoot it.
It dies instantly.
You do
Two damage die.
2 damage rolls. No, it rolled 2 complications.
Oh dear.
2 20s.
Hang on, but last time a monster rolled a complication, we all got screwed.
No, it got screwed too.
And the ceiling fell down on us.
On it, with it, you know.
I got a 1 and a 6, so I believe that is 2 normal
That's
damage and
3
on 1
extra.
fearsome damage.
It's 2 normal damage and 1 fearsome damage. That is right. You bang, shoot it, and because of the complication, what I'm going to say is, if you
The
wanted
ceiling
to,
collapses.
that's what we want. The ceiling to collapse right now. That's a great idea. I'm going to say that counts as 2 momentum, which you can use to roll for extra damage.
Oh, heck yeah.
I think that's the best way to do it,
2 momentum.
because
And
otherwise,
actually,
any complication here for the wasp is a complication for all of you.
and actually, I'm going to spend another momentum because I still have 3. As in, I
Okay,
still
so
have
that's
4 and
3
I
extra
don't need
damage dice. Roll me 3 extra damage dice. Boom, boom, boom.
Ooh, a 2, a 5, and a 5.
Shit. Okay, so that was. Hang on, maths. So that's 3, 4,
5.
5 damage. Jeez. That's 5 damage and more fear damage. You shoot off its wing. You bang, and its wing just goes off, and it's spurting this horrible purple blood ichor, and it's really, really badly hurt. It has it's an injury. It is sort of collapsing down a little bit and just like barely hanging on. Clearly,
Oh, I feel like those awful children who pull off wings with tweezers now. That's not good.
I'm sorry.
Well, I mean that's the small, helpless, defenseless flies rather than
Like, this
gigantic
is
human-sized
quite
wasps
murdering.
that have impaled our friend.
That is a useful distinction. Many thanks.
Yeah.
Raz, I did forget to mention earlier, you do have an injury from this stabbing in. So should we say it's one of your arms is sort of hanging a bit loose and a bit limp because you've been really quite badly hurt by it? Is that fair?
Yeah, that's cool. That works.
Cool.
You have been stopped.
It is its turn.
Yeah.
It's going to try and scramble for the hole that it made. Are you still hanging on to it, Raz?
Yeah, I'm still hanging on.
Right.
One of my
It's
punching arms is down, but both my grabbing arms are ready.
It's going to try and scramble towards the hole and fly out.
With one
Okay.
wing.
With one wing. It crawls its way over to the hole and manages to sort of like squeeze its way into the hole and trying to get its way out and flee. But Raz, you're holding it tight and just you've got it in a death grip, and it's clearly very, very badly hurt, and it can't get out of the hole. Do you want to finish it?
Yes.
Finish it!
But I did so badly last time that I'm worried.
We have faith in you.
Is that daring and cunning again?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And I want the people's elbow described in detail.
Ooh, that's 1 critical and 1 success, so 3.
3. Oh, it got 2 successes, but it's not enough. You hit it. I'm not going to use threat on this. I like this too much. Roll me the damage and see if it's enough to kill it. It's got very few hit points.
Is that just 1 die again?
It is 1 die. You did hit it, so you do get momentum if you want to use that to do more damage. Roll the first damage and let's see what happens.
How I do.
Yeah.
Three, is it?
It's a 3 or a 4. Let me guess.
Yeah. I'm going to use that momentum, please.
Do it. Come on.
Kill it.
Come on, Raz. Oh, no.
I don't want to lie is the thing. I don't want to lie.
You try and
I rolled
grab
a
it
5.
and twist, and it's just not
Oh,
working.
That was a
5.
5.
That was a
Oh,
5. 5
Five's
is good.
good.
I can't read the things I wrote about dice rolls.
3 and 4 are the ones you don't want.
5, I'm going to say with the 5, doing 1 to fear. Yeah, it's enough. 5, you reach down and just start twisting, and you slowly, you're twisting it in a weird way, twisting it sort of round the wrong way. It's definitely dead. Just
Feel the earthquake.
And Virt, with your final round, you are managed to fix the engine. It's not on yet. The ship is now, you can feel like the deck of the ship is now roughly a 30-degree angle. It's starting to really nosedive, and you can hear, like, you can see dents in the side where more of these wasps have hit into the side of it as you're flying through this swarm. What would the 4 of you like to do?
I would like to see if the wasp has a mind control device on it.
Oh,
Yes,
fascinating.
Abraham.
In the midst of all of this terror, you check the back of its head for a mind control device, and you find one. The thickens, it plots.
Sorry, go for it.
No, you go ahead.
I would like to look around the hull and see if there's any sort of plate metal, planks of wood, anything to make that the 4 of us could lift to have some kind of shield to help us as we sprint back to the cockpit.
Cool. Roll me, I think probably reason to try and find the right pieces. And
Yep.
I mean, this feels very daring, but I'm very happy for you to tell me, like, empathy for making sure your friends don't get hurt. Like, you can talk me through this. That's fine.
I always go for reason and empathy, and that's quite boring. Can I go for reason and might, simply because she's looking for quite heavy pieces of things?
Yeah, of course you can.
It's not her forte.
Could we help?
You've just been looking at the mind control device. The other 2 could
Okay.
potentially help, or could be planning other ways of dealing with this, or running towards the deck already. Good.
A 1
Wow.
and a 20.
Ooh.
It's a great shield with a hole in the middle.
To take a strut, it was the mast.
I found something. Conk.
you pick up the buried bit of the engine we just fixed. Please don't do that.
Have I done that twice this game?
I will cry.
Okay, Cord, you pick up a huge piece of sheet metal that's lying on the ground and go, I've got a shield. Are you running with the other 2 who are presumably, Raz, are you also running towards the deck to help with this? Great.
Yes, very much so.
As you run with the other 2, you like
A duck.
take you're
Bang.
You're currently dealing with a mind control device, Abraham. This is separate. You get to the ladder before them, holding this big piece of plate metal and like in your big chunky mitting hands, and go, "I will protect you," and just like start climbing the ladder, holding this thing, to make sure that they're safe.
Protect you all.
What the camera sees and what the audience sees, but no one else does, is this sheet metal is cracked and will probably snap in an instant.
Oh, well, I tried.
Right.
It'll do is
better than I could have
it'll protect from 1 hit, but then it will just be like gone. Like that's
Well,
the
maybe
point.
my friends will have seen my example and also grabbed heavy things. Who knows?
Razh, Virt, are you running towards the deck of the ship, or are you trying to be grabbing useful things? Are you doing something else clever?
So Razh, what?
You're going towards the deck of the ship, Razh. Are you doing anything to protect yourself, or are you just running up to try and see if you can solve this problem?
God, where are our NPCs?
Oh, they are currently in the hold, just watching. They watch the wasp fight with a kind of "we are out of our depth" style moment. And
Yeah,
now
I'm gonna kind of get him and usher him up with the rest of us.
there's the deck of the ship is going to be covered in bees.
In bees.
Covered in bees. They're safer
Neither
down here.
Razh or Poe are very intelligent, and I don't know what I could do. That'd be a great help.
You could go up and help the others try and get the ship engine started again. You could protect them down here because there's a hole in the hull where a Sith came in. Like, it's up to you.
Give the engine another stiff punch. I'll run up.
Yeah,
I'll
do
run
that.
Up the engine.
Punch the engine.
I'll run up to the engine.
Okay, the engine's
Justin, you're okay.
the engine's in the back of the ship. They've already fixed it. Turning it on happens at the steering plinth on the top deck. But you can be standing in front of the engine to try and make it work if you want to.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to, in my usual trying to be helpful fashion, try and see if I can do something about this engine to try and make this a bit easier.
Cool. Okay. Can you? What are you using to make the engine go? Do whatever you like.
So my passion, endless enthusiasm,
Passion. Yeah. Great.
and I think I might I can't do might because I'm injured still.
You can. It's just harder.
I'll do it and it'll be harder because
Okay.
everything's been hard.
Cool. Roll me a passion and might on making the engine.
Punch my way into this. Punch my way out of it. Okay, that's a 1 and a 2.
Hey!
Okay. Razh, you go up to the
Hello.
engine and just go, work! And double punch down on top of the engine. We'll come back to what happens in a second. Cordelia, you have run up the ladder holding a bit of sheet metal. Virt, are you following behind to start the engine?
Yeah, so I'm going to run up and I'm going to say, anyone who has a gun, try and keep them off me. And I'm going to draw my pistol. And what I'm going to try and do is basically run, blazing away at every single wasp-shaped thing in front of me, trying to get to the on switch.
Right. Good.
Which
Lovely.
I think is probably going to be something like daring and passion.
Yeah. I'm very happy for a daring and passion roll on this. That's fine.
Which means I've only got the 2.
Yep.
So I'll see what happens with burning momentum
You're an experienced pistolier or whatever the hell it's called. Does that mean you do
I'm
more
deadly.
damage?
Yeah, I do +2 damage on a hit.
Plus 2 dice.
Yeah, plus 2 dice on a hit.
Great.
So nonetheless, the focus of this is not combat. The focus is on getting the damn engine running.
Yeah, that's fine.
Does the fact I've got his back shielding him assist in any way?
No, not for what he's doing at the moment. That's to protect from attack, which we'll come to in a second.
Am I, might be a bit of a stretch, am I going to get my extra d20 for the fact that this is to do with flying the airship?
No.
No, fair enough. Okay then, so I'm going to roll 2, and then I'm basically gonna blow as much momentum and luck on this as I need to get it functioning. So.
What have you rolled? What is happening?
8 and a 2. So that's 3 successes.
Great. With 3 successes, you are running towards the back of the ship to grab the steering plinth to try and twist it back forward to make the engine start. It's going to take a bit longer. With 4 or 5, I'd say you can probably try and do it in one go.
Hell be damned, I'm going to spend 3 momentum points to get 2 more dice.
Okay.
And that's a 2 and a 13, which means
2 more successes.
Houston, we have 5 successes.
Perfect. As you run towards the back of the ship, as you get onto the top deck with Cord is holding this bit of sheet metal, and you can just see behind the sheet metal, like, it's not like there's lots and lots of these big wasps on the deck of the ship. It's more like they're flying around all over the place and bouncing off the ship. Like one bounces off the deck and flies off again because you're falling through a swarm. And as one bounces off the deck, you run forward, shooting wildly around yourself, get to the control plinth and just jam the switch forward. And nothing happens. Nothing's working. And then Razh again just boom, boom, boom. The engine just kicks in with full might.
Yeah.
And as it does, the ship is now flying straight downwards and has sped up.
And I'm going to grab the controls and try and pull up out of this dive.
Cool. As you do, a couple of Sith are bouncing off the deck. One is going to go flying in towards Cordelia. Are you trying to protect yourself and Virt? Are you moving forward to protect both of you?
I'm trying to protect Virt first and me second.
Ah. Right.
Thank you.
In which case you hold the shielding up as one comes flying over and pwang, it bounces off the shield, which tears into 2 smaller shields you're now holding, going, oh.
Ah.
Yeah. As it just cracks through. It doesn't hit you, it bounces off, but the impact's enough to send you staggering. You blocked the one that was attacking Virt. However, one is now going to come flying in and just be all up in your grill.
Great.
It rolls 2 successes on an attack to hit you. Can you please roll me a daring and empathy or passion?
Totally empathy, always empathy. My goodness.
Okay.
I'm not a passionate character. Daring and empathy, was that?
Yes, please.
Ooh, that's 10. That's not very high. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. I'm going to spend some. Actually, I have 3 luck left. I'm going to spend 1 luck.
Okay.
That
That's
gets
2 successes.
2 successes, but
It still hits you.
I would like to spend a momentum, please.
Sure.
That's not what I should be rolling. That's what I should be rolling. Oh, thank goodness, that's a 1.
Okay, 4, that's enough.
So 4 successes.
1 bounces off and you block the one that was going for Virt, and 1 sort of bounces off you and tries to attack you, but you just sort of... You used empathy, didn't you?
Yes.
You could feel it coming and dodge out the way as it bounces off the deck and doesn't hit you. Virt, tell me how you'd like to steer the ship.
Still with the pistol in one hand, I'm basically just going to grab the controls and just try as much as I can to just pitch up.
Okay.
So all I'm trying to do is pull it out of this dive.
Cool. Can you roll me a check, because what will... Yeah. Again, as a base some flight stuff. If you pull up real hard on a dive, you will potentially break the ship. However, you could also, if you manage to gear it correctly and do it slowly, get a nice arc dive out of it.
Yeah. So that's what's intending. I don't want to shear the wings. So I'll shear the steering vanes. So that's going to be 3d20
because you're flying.
I roll those straight, and then we'll see what happens. I think again, honestly, I think it's just daring and reason. It doesn't make sense to use anything else. Aside from I'm very aware that also this episode has just been Virt does flying things. So when we get to the ground, I will have other things to do.
Yes.
But for now, it's going to be daring, and I'll just sit on my.
We'll leave you behind again.
Yeah, I'll just go to bed. You'll come back, and all the nails will be into size order. So daring and reason.
Yep.
That is 13, a 9, and a 5. I needed to beat 16, and reason is my lowest, which is 7. So that's 4 successes.
4 successes. Yeah. Controlled, careful manner, you pull up, and you can see that you're pulling out of the arc dive. As you're pulling out of the arc dive, there's a and you realize that you've gone through the swarm and are now arcing through the trees. You're pulling up, but there's a ping, ping noise from the ship as you are now definitely crashing through vertiginous undergrowth at full speed. You haven't slowed down, and the ship is now cutting into the woodland. You could try and pull up into the swarm, or you could try and slow the ship down and, if anything, controlled landing in this forest. You are the pilot. At this moment, it is up to you whether you fly back up into the swarm or land in the forest. And you have to roll to land in the forest carefully and not damage the ship any further.
I am just gonna yell, Dr. Kant, swarm or forest?
Forest!
Right. Okay, I'm gonna
hold that roll. Hold that roll while you do. Raz, as you punch the engine, boom, boom, it sped up, and you did it. You punched it into making it work. You've seen Virt do it. That's correct. That's how this is supposed to go. Abraham, you've got the mind control device on the back of this thing. You've looked at it and realized they're also part of the same problem. What would you like to do?
First of all, we've already got some of these mind control devices, haven't we? We've saved.
You managed to pull one out of one of the, but I don't think you've actually. Maybe
I'm tearing it out.
Okay, roll me a.
Or cutting it out, whichever I think would be.
Roll me tell me what stats you like to use to remove it.
Might.
Tearing, yeah, and.
Cunning, is that used for attacks usually?
I think cunning can be used for being precise, so it's sort of grabbing and tearing, but also cutting bits.
Yeah. Okay,
because
cool.
As previously established, it's not just like, oh, it's stuck on the back of its neck. It's wired into its nervous system.
Yeah. 10, which is a success, and an 18, which is not a success. I'm going to use a momentum. Well, do I need momentum?
One success is not enough. One success, you'll break it, whereas you currently have one already, and if you had two, maybe you could start thinking about fashioning a device to block the signal.
Oh, well, I wasn't going to think about that, but...
Cord might.
I'm going to use momentum.
Cool.
It's a 13, which is on the nose. It's enough.
Perfect. Yes. With 2, you carefully, as the ship is, you can feel it, you carefully remove this mind control device, and now between you and Cord, you have 2, which would be enough to start thinking about finding a way to block the signal, which might be quite useful. Great. Anything you two want to do as the ship is coasting in for a controlled landing?
Yeah, can I also, because I'm not aware of this plan, I'm just sort of getting my swords ready, because I'm aware there's a big hole
looking at the hole, looking at the hole in the hull, you can now hear the like it's not the same noise as going through. Like, it's not bumping and bouncing. It's like
I guess
a sort
I can see.
And looking out the hole, it's not a big hole in the side. Like it's sort of a tear where something got dragged in, and you can see like tree line.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, trees.
Raz, is anything? Are you and Abraham talking to each other? The doctor and his kids are just on the side going.
There's trees.
Good work on the engine, Raz.
Thank you. Quite proud of that. I'm gonna lie down.
Virt, you were about to roll to controlled landing this ship.
Yeah, I've got my airship pilot, so it's going to be 3d20.
I will say that controlled landing in a wooded area is extremely difficult.
Yeah. So it's a good thing that I have some momentum and a single luck point remaining.
Ideal, even.
So I am going to use. I should have said that before rolling, but held me down. Just going to stick with daring and reason for my generic flight check.
Yes.
So on this roll, there is a 13.
Luckily for some.
There is a 1.
Yay!
I'm going to use a luck point to add 2 more successes. So that's a total of 5 successes.
Perfect. That's what you need.
And I also have a 20.
Of course you do.
So it succeeded. With a 20. And just for fun, I'm going to spend a momentum point to see what happens if I roll another one.
Why do we never get this many 20s in a D&D session?
Lord knows. And that was a 9, so that's not lower than my reason score, but that's a 6.
So you get the momentum back
Success.
effectively. You get the momentum back if you didn't need it, but there you go. As the ship is coasting into the tree line, Virt, you are slowly slowing the engine down so you don't drop like a stone, and also applying the air brakes, which is basically having the wings at full extension on both sides to slow the ship down. As you do, you're going into the tree line. It is slowing down. It's becoming dark overhead because the tree line is so thick and so dense. And as you are flying into the tree line, here's the 20. One of the control struts just gets snapped off by a tree. And suddenly, what was a very controlled, very careful landing is now a spinning, falling, crashing. And as the ship falls down, you've slowed it enough to not cause any serious hurt or impact to any of the passengers or yourself. But as the ship careens, twisting slightly into the tree line and into the darkness, that's where we're going to end.
Be soon!
Be soon!
So is that really simple, easy, just quick little hop to helium worked?
Anyway, thank you everyone for joining us for Chapter 3 of John Carter of Mars, or Bees!
Be soon!
If you enjoyed tonight, there will be other episodes of John Carter of Mars, Phantoms of Mars. We'll be finishing off this campaign in the next 1 or 2 episodes of it or so. So check out our Twitter, it's Adventurers250, or other social medias where we're Adventurers Wanted, like Instagram, Facebook, where we will announce when the next episode is, probably within the next month or so, depending on schedules and however busy everyone is during lockdown. We also run a bunch of other games on the channel. We run a lot of D&D, unsurprisingly. We run on Monday evenings from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. British Summer Time on the official Wizards of the Coast channel, would you believe it? So if you want to watch the show there, we are currently in the final weeks of Eberron Terminus, which my company co-owner Chloe Mashita is DMing wonderfully. It's an action thriller set in the universe of Eberron, which is a D&D world where quite pulpy, a bit like this one. And that's an adventure on a train. So if you like Operation Broken Arrow and other like train-based action movies, what's that weird one called? Snowpiercer? That one.
Oh, I like that.
There we go. It's all those sort of elements thrown together into a mad train-based exercise, so do catch us on that. We're then running a series of one-shots, which will soon have a cool title, and we'll tell you all about a bit later, before a brand new campaign, big new 12-weeker, launching end of June. But more on that later. Otherwise, there will be other D&D one-shots floating around. There often are. And otherwise, you can catch up anything at twitch.tv/adventurerswanted, where all of our stuff is streamed. And if you don't catch it where it's live streamed, it's at youtube.com/adventurerswanted, where everything is archived. You can watch everything that we do. If you want to support us in a different way, we're on Patreon. Again, it's Adventurers Wanted on Patreon. Our patrons get access to a whole bunch of stuff, including homebrews, things we use in our games, blogs about what we do. It's a great way to support how we do what we do, and thank you again to everyone who supports us there. We are also, as mentioned at the top, sponsored by D&D Beyond and Ultra Pro. Couldn't do anything without them. They sponsor every single show that we make, so big thank you again. And otherwise, I think it just left to me to say thank you to all of our wonderful players for tonight's episode, and hopefully catch you all soon. And thank you all for watching. Bye.
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 Bye.